All right, we are live. We
What's
made it.
up?
What's up, everybody? We got Mr. Roro in here. We got Angel in here. As more people trickle in, we will say hello. I want to say a huge thank you to Shaye for joining me here today. I've been looking forward to this because I told you this too, dude. Your channel is awesome, and I love
I
watching your
appreciate
videos.
that, man.
And I love. We definitely have some similar tastes, and then there's some other things that you talk about that I'm like, I have never heard of this before ever, which is cool. So I want to kind of hit on some of those things. But first and foremost, just want to say thank you for taking the time to join me, and I'm excited to talk about whatever we wind up talking about because I don't prepare for these at all. So we'll just go with the vibes.
Right on, man. I'm super thrilled to be here. When I got the invite, I was emphatic, like super pumped to be here.
Man, awesome. Well, the first thing we have to say, because people can see your shirt, right, is we got to talk about our love for Berserk. You got the shirt. I have a Baylet tattoo on my arm.
Oh, I have
Um,
a Guts and Casca tattoo as well.
There we go. We got to talk about the tattoos for because you got all kinds of like nerdy tattoos. So we
Yeah, I've
gotta hit that.
got like a few hip hop ones, but most of my tattoos are either like fantasy book, manga, or comic.
That's
Like I
awesome.
have Malazan, I have a Fiddler tattoo.
Uh-huh.
And I have a Fool from Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings on the other side of my neck, which
Yeah.
those are like my two absolute like favorites is Robin Hobb and Erickson. So I was like, if it goes on the neck, it's got to be like
It
my
better be.
fave.
Yeah.
I remember before I
Yeah.
even made my channel, I saw your Animator Rake tattoo, and I very
Yeah.
rarely like comment on videos just because I'm like nervous. I'm like, oh, like
Sure.
I don't know. I just have a weird thing about putting myself out there, and I was like, oh,
I get it.
I just got a Fiddler piece. This tattoo's pretty dope.
Yeah, man. That was awesome. Yeah, I love that you went for it and just put it right on your neck, right? Like I haven't crossed that threshold yet, but I will for sure. But it's like it's gotta be the right thing.
It's definitely created some issues, like, whenever I was interviewing, like, for my little nursing school program stuff, they're like, I was like, "Hello," and they were like, kind of taken aback. I guess they don't really expect people in this field to have neck tattoos,
Uh-huh.
but, I mean, I'm in there, so
Yeah.
I guess it it
It's
it worked fine, but
yeah.
I was just like, I think I got filled up pretty much everywhere else, and I was like, if it's going on the neck, it's got to be like my absolute favorite thing. Like, it can't just be something where the next day I'll find like something that eclipses it. And
Sure.
Malazan and Realm of the Elderlings have been like at the top for years. So
Yeah, as a safe. It's funny how the culture is changing a little bit with the people being weird about tattoo stuff. Like
mhm,
it's even you think about like 10 years ago it was quite a bit different.
right.
Um, but I'm dating myself. You might not even remember 10 years ago. I don't even know how old you are, but you seem younger than me for sure. But
Wait, how old are you? Are you I'd say
I
like 30,
yeah, 31.
31. Okay, we're
Yeah.
similar. I'm
Okay.
26.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, I guess some people get tattooed when they're 16, 17, but um anyway. But yeah, like it seems like it's getting better. Like I remember I had one person that was kind of weird about my hand, but like
Mhm.
it wasn't really that big of a deal. But I remember when I first started getting tattooed, I was just like, all right, like, don't get anything that's visible just in case, because you don't know what job
Right.
you're gonna get. But now it's like people still care, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be, thank goodness.
I know one of my relatives, like my uncle, was like, "What if people think he's a gangbanger?" And my
Yeah.
dad's like, "He has Silver Surfer tattooed on his forearm. I promise you, no one's gonna think
Yeah.
that."
Like they're just gonna think they're dorks.
Yeah.
It's cool. So we got
Eh,
okay, so we have Malazan and Robin Hobb on the neck. We got Silver Surfer. We got. I watched your video, but it's been a minute.
I
When you were into all
have
your other ones.
the Gentleman Bastards. I have Locke, Jean, and Sabetha on my ribs. Um, I get like in public. One of the questions people ask me a lot is, "How many tattoos do you have?" And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I have
100%.
no I at this point, I couldn't even I like 16, 32. I both those
Yeah,
sound equally likely.
yeah.
And
What
so many of
I
the sessions like build off of each other that I'm like,
uh-huh.
I your guess is as good as mine, man.
Yeah.
But
Get
like
some.
on the spot, oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just checking the comment. Make sure you go get some.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. The oh, what was I gonna say? Um oh, what I always tell people with the how many do you have thing is I'm like, I don't know, eventually it'll just be one. Like that's
Yeah,
usually what
just
I
like
say.
one big massive one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my mindset as well.
Uh-huh. I like it. That's cool. Okay, so we got gentleman bastards on the ribs are not fun. I've only gotten one side. I have like a full
Oh,
side panel thing, and I'm like, I'm putting off the other side hard, dude. That and belly, I'm putting off hard because I'm just scared.
I tapped out multiple times. And this was
Tough.
so I was living in Louisiana at the time, and it was all the way in Austin, Texas. So it was quite a commute to that tattoo artist that was doing the
Yeah.
Gentleman Bastards piece. So I would drive there 6 hours only to tap out after like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And some people are so prideful. They're like, I'm not gonna tap. And I would tell people, I'm like, yeah, I had to tap out on my ribs. And they're like, I wouldn't have tapped. I'm like, you sit for 3 hours with color
Ugh,
realism on your ribs and tell me,
brutal. Ugh.
yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal. Where are you at with like the hello discovering books? Thank you for joining. Where are you at with like the numbing creams and sprays and stuff? Have you tried it? Have you not tried it?
I've never even like looked into it really. I kind of just like to space out my sessions because I know some artists are weird about like asking to use numbing cream, and I just like to
Yeah.
whatever their method is. I'm choosing to go to them because I like their artwork and I like how they do what they do. And some people say that it like numbing cream makes the skin hard to work. So I'm like, you know
Hmm.
what? That's their area of expertise. I am just a geek
Yeah.
that wants to be filled with the
Yeah.
inks. So I'll let them do what they
100%.
do.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me. Hello. All
Hello.
I've ever done is when I'm like pretty deep into a session, if the tattooer is like, "Hey, I have this like spray. Do you want me to just hit it real quick? It'll make it not hurt as bad." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like if they're asking me if I
Mhm.
want it, then I'm like, "That seems fine."
Oh, like Bactine and stuff?
Yeah, it's what is it lidocaine? Whatever.
Oh.
It's just I can't remember the concentration of it, but it's not like that dude. The I did have one that was like pretty strong. It was really nice. It was when I was getting my shin, and I have like a big traditional bat head on my shin,
Oh, that's rad.
and I love it so much. It came out so good, but it's just so many lines, and the liner right on your shin bone sucks so bad. And I was like a couple hours into it, and he was like, "Hey, let me just spray this for you real quick." I was like, "Cool," and I didn't feel anything for like the rest of the session. Well,
I cannot relate. I've never had a tattoo where I feel nothing. I'm
that was
I'm
the
one of
only
those
one.
ones, I'm not gonna be like macho and be like, "It didn't hurt at all." No,
It
I'm like,
sucks. Yeah, it's awful.
ooh, funny story. When I went to get my fiddler tattoo, I went to this guy, Joe in Austin, great artist. He did a lot of like my hip hop tattoos,
Hmm.
which is like what my hands are. And I
Yeah,
wanted him to do fiddler because he does really good black and gray. And I was like, so it's like a medieval soldier playing a violin. Like, I'm aware that when you have an artist that hasn't read the books, you're not going to get a 1-to-1 of what the character looks like. But I'm
sure.
like, I want someone that's medieval type garb, soldier, playing the violin. I
Hmm.
get there, it was a World War II violinist that he made the artwork of, like in like World War II garb. I'm like, this is great. It's not fiddler. Like, and I hate having to ask artists to rework this. And I'm like, if I get this tattooed by you, it will not be
Yeah,
what I envisioned. Like it was so off. I think he has a lot of clients, so he probably looked at the DM like last minute and was like, "Soldier violin word," and it
yeah.
was like a World War II veteran, and I was like, no,
Yeah,
that
that's
that
tough.
will not work.
I always feel so bad with stuff. Like I've gone in before, and I'm just like, I used to go. I grew up in Illinois before I moved
Mhm.
here to Florida, and in Illinois, I used to go to this like super traditional shop all the time, and I would go in. There was a couple times where I was just like, "Hey, like, I kind of want like a panther head. Like, just do whatever you want, right?" Like, so I have stuff
Right.
like that where I'm just like, literally, whatever you want to do is cool. It's gonna look tough, awesome. And then there's other times where it's like you're saying, like it's a very specific, and I feel bad asking them to like change
I
stuff, but it's
know
also like I'm paying you a lot of money. It's going on me forever. I'm sorry to be annoying, but I'm gonna be annoying.
he had to redo it like multiple times, and I hate to like infringe upon somebody's artistic vision, but this was like a
Sure.
case of like medieval, like it was in the message, I don't want to be like that, but I'm like, hey man,
Yeah.
it's so it had to be reworked a little bit.
Well, what are you gonna do?
It is what it is.
Numbing cream. Yeah, close to the armpit's not super fun either. Um, is the ribs the worst one that you've ever gotten?
Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
Probably followed closely by the neck. The neck's pretty brutal. The fool was actually supposed to have like a little bit more color in him, and he's like, we could do like a green fade to white in his hair if you. And I was like, yeah, yeah, like whatever got me less hours in the chair. And the artist who did this one, he actually surprised me after the fiddler scenario. I had him do a Masaki Matsuda tattoo from Sword of Kaigen, and he had like their family crest as earrings for the piece, which was like, okay, so you went and did your research, like you looked up what Sword of
That's
Kaigen
cool.
was, like mad respect for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we got a quote. We should hit this, and then I want to come back to your tattoos real quick. What's your favorite Malazan book?
So I really love the Carcanis trilogy. I know you haven't gotten around to those
Not
yet,
yet. I want to.
but Toll the Hounds is probably my favorite.
My man. My man. Okay. That's the only correct. That's not true. That's not the only correct answer, but that is
That
definitely
was
a
such a
fantastic
surprise for
answer.
me because Fiddler and Tavor are like my favorite characters of all time. So I went
Mm,
into Toll the Hounds going, and Reaper's Gale is probably my least favorite. It's they're
fair.
all 5 stars to me, but
Sure.
like Reaper's Gale would be the only one that's like
Yeah.
4.9 stars. I'm
Yeah.
a
Something's
mega,
got to be at the bottom of the list,
yeah,
right?
there's got to be a gradient. And
Yeah.
Reaper's Gale, I was like, and then now we're following characters I really didn't care that much about. And then Toll the Hounds, like completely like, like the Danny DeVito meme where he's like, "It's beautiful." That was me reading Toll the Hounds, like all
Yeah.
1,000 pages. I think I read
Yeah.
it in like 5 days, which I'm usually a slow reader, and I was
Wow.
just
Yeah.
obsessed, like blowing off homework to read Toll the Hounds.
Good choices. Good choices. Yeah. It's so he. Um. I won't spoil anything at all, but like Erickson does some different things in that book that I could see how some people wouldn't like it, but it was just I loved it so much. Um, Speaking of Malazan, we got Philip here. Thank you for dropping
Oh, that's what's
by.
up.
Philip, remind
Oh.
us what your favorite Malazan book is too. We both said Toll the Hounds. I remember what yours is.
I feel
Um,
like he's gonna like Carcanis. Well, I guess if we're going out of the 10,
Totally.
I don't know what his would be, but I enjoyed watching his coverage of Carcanis.
Dude, immediately Crippled God. Okay, yeah, fair. There's
Cripple God, yeah,
um
valid. I
there's
think the last like 150 pages of the Cripple God is like the best thing I've ever read in my entire life. But as like a cohesive story, I go Toll the Hounds slightly above Crippled God, and Midnight Tides is pretty goated as well.
it is. Yeah, that one Bone Hunter still um has like the most visceral emotional reaction I've ever had. Like, well, yeah, probably. The most visceral reaction I've had is uh, Egaton in the Bone Hunters, right?
No, I
That's
was about
all
to
I'll
say
say.
best battle in all of fantasy is Yigatan or Yagatan.
Oh,
By the
yeah,
way,
however you say it.
I am so guilty of saying Malazan, even though I say Malazan, but it's Malazan, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I don't know. I heard Erickson say Malazan once, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna say because he said it.
I know that's
So,
right, but I've said Malazan for so long. And
yeah.
once we were watching I was watching a booktuber. This is like a year ago, way before I ever started my channel. And I think it was Books with Brittany, and she said
Mhm.
Malazan. And my girlfriend was like, "Why is she saying Malazan wrong?" I'm like, "No, no, no. It's us. We're saying it
Yeah.
wrong." Like, no, 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 she's right. It's me.
Yeah, I think I've heard him also say that he's like, say it however you want, kind of. But yeah, this was me towards the end of Disquiet Gods. So I know you're pretty early in Sun Eater.
I do have a copy of Disquiet Gods that is signed by Rockio.
Oh, let's go.
That was pretty cool. I was able to
Did
see
you?
him. He came to like my
Yeah,
local Barnes and Noble,
that's all.
and
Was this the one he did with Ryan Cahill, or was it just him?
it was just him. I believe they were both in town that weekend and they went to
Okay.
something else together, but it was like Mike's book review introducing
Yeah.
um Christopher Rockio.
Yeah,
And
that's so cool.
I know you've said in like your NLR togethers, like I was watching some of yours to do my little research before this, that you're very introverted in person.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. Like I met Christopher Rockio and I met Mike and I was like, "Hello, big fan." And then I like walked off and I saw other people like actually talking with them, and I was
Yeah,
like
relatable.
I was
I
like
remember,
starstruck, but I'm like,
yeah,
these people don't even see themselves as stars. Like they're just like normal dudes. But
yeah,
I
for
was just
sure.
like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, you're in for a treat, dude. Starting Deadhouse Gates now, yeah. Yeah, that's I met Sanderson at a Comic-Con, was it last year maybe?
ooh,
And it was that like I walked up, I had my copy of Way Kings because I wanted him to sign it. And I put it on the table in front of him and I was like shaky. And I was just like I didn't even say anything. I just couldn't whatever. Um and he was so cool. He was just like, "Do you have any questions, man?" Like, and like he kind of helped me to talk to him basically. But yeah, I totally relate. It's hard to not everyone's just a normal
oh.
person, right? But it's hard not to.
By the way, speaking of Sanderson, weren't you like positive on Wind and Truth? Like you enjoyed it?
Yeah, there like I
I
see the
loved Wind and
complaints.
Truth. And
I
I felt like
okay.
so many people were
Yeah.
dogging it. And I was
Yeah.
like, did we read different books? Like,
I understand at least some of the criticisms I understand,
right.
right? But I'm like, uh, it was still good.
I remember
I cried at the end. It was still great.
I was still in the process of like, because you went and commented on like my very first YouTube video, but I did like 5 or 6 that were like really bad quality. And then when I reviewed Curse of the Mist Wraith, that was like my first one that I actually tried and had like a better setup. But the
Nice.
last
Yeah.
one I did that was not great, where I had like stacks of books acting as a phone stand to record
Yeah. Let's
weird
go.
like FaceTime facing iPhone camera. I did like my review of Wind and Truth. And it actually got like, I don't know, like 150, 200 views just because Wind and Truth was so hot right then. It was like a few
Sure.
days after release. And I was gushing about it, but then I took it down because it was such bad quality. But after I took it down, I just saw everyone ripping that book apart. And I was like,
Yeah.
I had to repost it. I was like, I don't want people to think I took it down because I went back on those opinions. Like,
Uh huh.
I am willing to disagree with everyone. Wind and Truth was
Sure.
absolutely like, I love all Stormlight except for maybe Oathbringer. I was a little, I know a
Wow.
lot of
Okay.
people love Oathbringer, but
Interesting.
I love Dalinar's flashbacks. Like that was the best part of Oathbringer. But the
Yeah.
modern story, I think I was just having Stormlight burnout at that time.
That's fair. Did you read them all like super close together?
I read up to Oathbringer close together, and then I read Rhythm and War on release and Wind and Truth on release.
Okay. Yeah. You came to it pretty much earlier than me. I didn't read any of them until 20 2022, I think maybe. I like ran through the whole Cosmere that whole year. So I'm surprised I didn't burn out super hard. But I will say I read Warbreaker towards the end and I was just like, why does everybody like this so much? So maybe that
Dude,
was the
for
burnout hitting.
real. Compare it to Tress and Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Those are better standalones. Like,
They are. I agree.
also, this is probably the hottest it takes. I think Elantris is more enjoyable for me than Warbreaker. But maybe it's because my expectations, like everyone was like, Elantris is awful, Warbreaker's amazing.
Right.
And I came out of it, I'm like, Elantris, pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it's not as bad as everyone says.
Yeah, definitely not. Maybe I agree. I think the expectations can be because I also went in like, oh, this was his first published book. It's probably not going to be amazing, whatever. But yeah, I had a good time with it. Like I still liked Warbreaker, but I don't know. On a reread, we'll see what's up. This is blasphemy, by the way. DNFing Way of Kings. This is one of the most special books to me that I've ever read. How dare you? That's okay,
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was Eye of the World. No, I'm kidding.
bro. I see. We were getting along so well. I'm like, I like this guy. We have similar opinions,
I think I
and
got into it too late. Like at the point I found Jordan, I'd already read Hobb and Erickson, and I was like, here we go. This is the one everyone loves. And I definitely have come around since finishing it. And I think I was a little too harsh on it. But so many of their fans are like, but hey, once you get to book 11, that's when
right.
it really, and I'm like, book 11? And then I
It was good
finished
from
book
book one.
14, and the amount of rage I had on closing Memory of Light, I was like, I did it. I finished it like everyone told me to. But
All right.
I
Well,
don't
thanks
know.
for coming, everybody. The stream is over. We're done. No, I'm just kidding. Um, that's fair. I
I'm
mean, I
sorry.
like it's definitely not for everybody. I get it, but Memory Light's still one of my favorite books. Just saying. You have to at least admit the last battle was great. Like the way
The
that it
last
was
battle was
written.
great. No, so many things in that series were great. I love Nynaeve. I love Matt. I love
Hmm.
Tom Maryland's my favorite character in the series.
Okay, good
I
take.
really enjoyed Tom Maryland.
Yeah.
I think expectations you have going into a book can like greatly impact how you experience it. And I think
Hmm.
being told it was the best ever kind of
Yeah.
but I think if I were to go into it now, because booktube kind of has this mentality of like it's a mixed bag, like we understand if you don't like it. I think if I'd heard that more going in, I probably would have been more positive on it.
Yeah. Fair.
I think I went in expecting too high. Not to say that it's not a great series. Like for the amount of amazing books I love that it has inspired, my personal opinions aside, I know that it's one of like the best fantasy epics of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will go to my grave saying there is not a slog. I will stand by that. 10 toes down.
Okay, well, I mean that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. What's up, Janny? Thank you for stopping by. We
Hell
got who
yeah.
else is here?
One day
Samwise
when
is
I was
here.
feeling super vain, I like Googled myself and I found that back in December, Janny Wirtz was like, Shaye, there's this new guy, Shaye. He has a YouTube channel. He has an amazing voice. And I was like, oh, like it was
Yeah.
on Twitter, which I never get
Hmm.
on Twitter because Twitter
Me
scares
either.
me.
I
And
forget.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, if I would have seen this in December, that would have meant so much to me. I would have been because I mean, Janny Wirtz, I feel like a lot of people right now have just been like obsessed
Hmm.
with discovering her, and I feel like BookTube gave her books like a new life.
Yeah.
Um, I actually really enjoyed your interview with Janny. I thought it was awesome hearing you
Dude,
guys chat.
like I still can't believe the just the it, like I'm like literally speechless. I have a hard time even describing it. That felt like I was like, I'm so blessed to be having this conversation right now. This is so
Yeah.
cool.
And that was when you'd only read The Gallant, right? If I'm remembering
The
correctly.
I think so. I don't think I'd read Hell's Chasm yet. I think it was just The Gallant.
Yeah. So probably now
Yeah.
you're like even more wowed that you talked to her
Oh
because
my goodness.
Curse of the
Um,
Mistwraith completely.
dude. Yeah, it's mind blown. Um, down the rabbit hole. I believe I tagged him in the thumbnail, not the thumbnail, the description should be there. Shay does have a channel, and it's awesome. Go find it, please, and
Thank you.
subscribe.
Thank you. Ow.
Should be. Yeah, dude. I'm so. You haven't read further yet, right? You just did Mistwraith.
Yeah. I'm going to start
Okay.
Ships of Marior later this month.
Nice. Me too.
Probably, I believe you said you were going to read that and Warhost of Vastmark back to back because Janny said that it was
That's my
originally supposed to
plan.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
my
think I'm going to
plan.
do likewise.
Cool. Yeah. The only thing that's kind of actually, you know what? It's timing out nicely because the next Ryan Cahill book is supposed to come out on the 31st, and I'm very excited to read that. So I'm like, okay, well, I probably don't have time to do both before that drop. I definitely don't have time to do both before that drops. But his books, the physical, takes like 2 or 3 weeks to come out later than the ebook does.
Right.
So I'm like, I can just wait for the physical edition, and that gives me an excuse to read Warhost first.
Yeah, because
Be
once you
nice.
start of Empires and Dust, it's going to be. Isn't
Yeah,
that what it's called, of Empires and
I think
Dust?
so. Yeah,
Yeah, I finished of Darkness and Light. I need to read The Exile, which Dane Atires is my favorite character from that series. So I feel like
yeah,
Exile is going to be pretty dope.
yep, right up your
Um,
alley.
I also really like Aeson. Aeson's a pretty awesome character.
Yeah, he's great. The Belina has become my favorite.
Belina, I've only seen bits and pieces of her at the end of Darkness and Light, but I can
Uh-huh.
definitely tell already why people say that.
Yeah,
And I also really like Tarmon Horde. I like him a lot.
yeah, yeah. I
He
love
has
how
some pretty banger one-liners in Of Darkness and Light.
for sure. I love how no one says Galen is their favorite. It's like no one likes the main character, but hey, that's how. I mean, it's not that people dislike it, but come on.
I think he's one of the higher echelon farm boys, but farm boys aren't usually it's usually the people surrounding the farm boy that I like the most.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Corbin 2.0 is a little bit. I don't know. No, I'm joking. I love the Bound and the Broken, but
My guilty fantasy confession is that I have not delved into John Gwen yet.
oh, dude,
It's not
you
out of
would
a
you would
lack of
like it.
like I know it's up my alley. I know it's going
Hmm.
to be my thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm
that's
sure.
definitely on the list. That and Jay Kristoff are probably the two I'm gonna focus like the most on this year, like actually getting into their
Nice.
bibliography.
Yeah, I want to read Christoph. I haven't read any of his. Somebody earlier said that they met him and he was really cool. Um, but yeah, that's definitely on my list as well. Yeah, more Wars of Light and Shadow. Yeah, that and Malazan at the same time is a little tricky. I don't know how some of
Insane.
y'all do it. Somebody's trying to do it though. Uh, on the bike. I will see how entertaining we can be, John. I don't know. We're we'll do our best for you. But yeah, talk about an undertaking, both of those series at the same time. That's something for sure.
I'm super
But
pumped for Talking Stories book that's coming out recently. I've been seeing a lot of people review it and I'll like comment in their videos. I'm like, Discovery, like maybe hoping I get an e-arc or whatever, but I'm definitely gonna pre-order like I think they said they're gonna have hardcovers, but when I think Philip Chase said it had like Tarantino-esque dialogue, and I was like,
it's good, dude. It's John, hook my boy up here. Do I have enough pull with the Talking Story fam? We'll see. We'll
I'd still
see.
buy it later. I just want it sooner. Like,
the
it's
the
still going on the
signed
shelf.
yeah, man. The signed pre-orders start, I think that's Saturday, right? That the pre-orders go up. Yeah, so that'll be yeah. See, look at this. Mind-blowing, excellent. Dialogue so much fun.
From Janny Wirtz. That's crazy.
It man, it was and she's absolutely right. It's so far out of my wheelhouse. Like I've never read just a usually when I read a book, like I don't want normal people names. I want weird made up names.
Right.
I want, I want fantasy or sci-fi. And this obviously this has some sci-fi in it. Um, but it's like normal people names in the real world and and I'm like, but like it's I love these people. I want to support them and see what's up. And it was fantastic. Like it felt like it opened up this whole like world of things that I can go try to explore, which is really cool.
I felt like when they announced it, I was like expecting like epic fantasy vibes because that's so much of what they cover. And then
Hmm.
when they were like when John started like describing it, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. A
Yeah.
fantasy channel writing something fantasy adjacent, but not quite.
Yeah.
All
It's cool.
right.
Yeah. It's
Very
awesome.
rad, very rad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
I actually I read Chance Dillon's short story recently that he put on his Patreon and was like pretty wowed by it. Like definitely giving me some Malazan vibes,
yeah.
and it was like really well written.
Yeah, he's got something special brewing for sure. I'm really excited to. I got to look at the first 3 chapters, I think. And it's cool, man. I'm excited for the rest of it to come. I think it's July 20th, I want to say.
Yeah, I can
Um,
definitely tell like him being in the military impacted the way he writes like the
mhm.
different squad mates and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah,
I
dude,
was
there's
watching y'all's NLR when I found out I was also in the military for a few years, but
Oh, really?
Chance looks much more like somebody who was in the military versus me.
What did you do there?
Nobody thinks I was in the military.
What'd you do in the military?
Nobody. Huh?
What'd you do in the military?
I was in the Air Force and I did like base
Wow, okay.
repair, like hangar doors, garage doors,
Okay.
more than just doors, locksmithing,
Door
um,
expert.
roofing, stuff like that.
Okay. So what okay, now I'm interested. If this is too personal, just tell me to shut up. But
Oh,
like
no, no, you're good.
how did you shift from that into what you're doing now? Like what was the journey?
So the shift was brought about by two things: me hating construction and
Okay.
me not being very proficient at construction. So whenever I got out, I joined at 17, 18. I got out just after turning 22. So I was like, all right, what are we doing? It's not construction. We're
Yeah,
not doing that. Uh, and so I just started going to school on my GI Bill. And now I'm going to UH here in Houston for nursing.
nice. Yeah.
And it's been a pretty fun ride.
That's so I always love this when people don't just go straight to college immediately after high school. Like it's always interesting to me because like my experience, I had like 4 years in between.
Hmm.
Um and my experience has been I get so much more out of school now than I would have if I had just gone straight through because I actually appreciate it. I know what I want to do. I'm older, I'm more responsible. Like, have you found that it's been Like, are you happy that you had that break before you got into like normal classes and stuff?
Um, I don't know. A big part of it was that just kind of like my home life leading up, like basically in my developmental years, in my adolescence leading up to 18, I wasn't in the financial state where college was even an option. Like I didn't even
Hmm.
have a smartphone at the time. Like I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't have anything. So I
sure.
kind of joined the military out of like, didn't really have anywhere to go.
Hmm.
But I do think, I mean, I was a pretty good student in high school, but I think coming back to it as an adult has allowed me to like regiment my life and my studies and everything in a way that I don't think 18-year-old me would have been as adept at. Like,
Yeah,
I definitely think that time away allowed me there was definitely some awkward growth in
sure.
the military when I was like 18, 19, still finding myself. So that was a little uncomfortable being like still coming into adulthood in the
Hmm.
military. But I think it more than paid off now because, you know, I kind of went into college knowing who I am, not having any, you know, weird, you know, coming into myself. Like I knew who I was and it was just easier to like, you know, find my niche and like do what I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can't let this joke go unnoticed. That's pretty funny.
Dorvice.
Dorvis, thank you for your service, Dorvis.
Oh, thank you for your Dorv. Okay.
I like it. Um, this makes so much sense to me. Like just being an adult, I feel like helps a lot. I look back to like when I was 19, I was like, I was stupid. Like I was smart, but I was stupid. You know what I mean? Like
Same.
I was good at school, but like I just had no idea what the world was like or like how to. I was
I was
organized, but like,
very, like, socially inept before
dude,
before, like,
you're telling
coming
me.
dude, no, you have no idea. I went through a Doctor Who phase, and I wore a bow tie to school.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I was like I was like, "Man, why do I keep getting bullied?" And my sister's like, "Take off the bow tie." And I'm like, "No, they're cool. Matt Smith
Yeah,
told me they were
double
cool."
down, double down.
Yeah.
Almost ready to go. Do it. It's never too late, man. It's fun. Part of me wants to like. So there's in my field there's like one or two people that have had like they've gotten multiple PhDs just on different topics and stuff, and I'm like, do I really want to do that? Probably not, but it's a cool idea of like going back and getting different levels of expertise. Almost as that's you're almost as cool as a tweed jacket. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I was out of it before I got to high school, but I remember in like sixth, seventh, eighth grade, I wore a Yu-Gi-Oh shirt every single day, and so like
Mhm.
that was my thing. Um, that's how it goes. But everyone's got to have something. Man. We got to have something we look back on and smile. Um, bow ties more likely to have mail order brides. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how to confirm that
No,
statistic, but it could be. It could be.
not
So,
I.
were you like I I had this, and I think a lot of people have this, where like I grew up reading, you know, a fair amount, and then I get into like high school and those, you know, kind of mid late teenage years, and I just kind of I was still reading, but it was very very little, almost nothing at all. And then
Okay.
now as an adult, I'm like coming back, and I'm like, yo, this is my thing. Did you
Mhm.
have like a that kind of up and down thing, or have you always been a big reader? Like, what's up with that?
I feel like it's been pretty consistent throughout my life. It's just accelerated. Uh,
Hmm.
I wanna say, like, 16 is where it really kicked off, and it's been, like, nonstop since then.
Yeah.
That's why I have, like I feel like I have more series under my belt than the average booktuber starting out, which is, like, cool and bad because people are talking about stuff they're currently reading that's hype, and now I'm, like, mostly just have, like, indie stuff and John Gwynn left because 'cause I've read a lot of
Yeah.
the big ones.
I think that's
Um
awesome though. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I remember my first well, my sister always loved the, Tolkien
Hmm.
movies, the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, and I
Yeah.
did too, and I got into Harry Potter as you do. I feel like it's
As you
become
do.
common to, like, on Harry Potter, but I loved it, and funnily enough, some stuff got bad at home and I moved in with my best friend's family. And
Hmm.
that's actually why I go by Shaye because they had another Zachary. So I just went by Shaye.
Okay.
And
Cool.
it stuck, but
Yeah.
they're like a very Pentecostal family, and I remember
Mm.
we snuck in Harry Potter books to read and put different, you know, covers over the books, and
Nice.
his
There you
sister's
go.
like, "Are y'all reading Harry Potter?" We're like, "No, we're smoking pot." Like, just trying
That's
to keep it low key because they're, you know, like his parents are super great people, you know, they took me in, but reading Harry Potter and playing Magic the Gathering were two things where they were like, in their viewpoint, they really thought we were like communing with devils.
yeah,
But we're
yeah.
like, no, we're nerds. Like, this is stuff we get bullied for. We're not cool. Like, we're not
Uh-huh.
like, so went on from Harry Potter, and then I got really into Legend of Drizzt when I was in
Okay,
like eighth
awesome.
grade into high school, and I was just obsessed with that
Yeah.
until I started finding, you know, like other series. But I was
Mhm.
definitely in like the Drizzt bottle for a while where I was reading his 20 some odd books.
How many of them have you read?
The last one I read, I think, was I read like the main 13, and then I read,
Oop.
and I think finding Name of the Wind is what got me into like other books besides Forgotten Realms. But
Okay.
I don't really like, I remember the original trilogy and the Icewind Dale trilogy, and the
Uh-huh.
rest kind of all mixes into one.
Sure.
Like, it's just been too long that
That makes
I
sense, yeah.
really need to like reread them.
Yeah, that's fair. I've been kinda slowly going through them. I read, like, a handful of them when I was little, like, way t I was way too young to be reading some of those because some of them get, pretty dark or there's, like, some, like, adult stuff in there,
Yeah,
and,
Minzo Baranzan is a dark place.
it is, it is. I distinctly remember I think I must have been in, like, oh man, 6th grade maybe, and we had to do, like, these book reports, and I did one on the Thousand Orcs, and I remember I had the hardcover from the library, and the cover is just Driss with his swords, and there's literally 1,000 orcs just, like, trying to kill him, and
Yeah,
I
he's
had to
like,
yeah, I had to get a note from my mom saying it was okay for me to read this for school. It was
oh,
funny,
that's awesome.
those have been fun.
Yeah, they're pretty rad. When you're like 13 and you see a like edge lord drow with two swords cutting stuff up. Like, I didn't know what
Uh-huh.
character depth was at the time, and I do think
Yeah.
Driz does have a lot of depth to him. But all I cared about was that he was mowing down
Yeah.
evil drow,
Right,
and
exactly.
I was obsessed with him.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so
Nothing was
cool.
cooler than like Driz when I was a kid. But
Yeah, the giant panther, and then you have the cool dwarf and the barbarian, just cool. It's just
what
cool,
about?
man, it's just fun.
Did you say for you it was like a like you got away from it and came back to it in adulthood?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you
it
remember
was,
what brought you back?
Game of Thrones, actually, the TV show was
Okay.
on, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome. Oh, there's books," and I worked at Target. This was me between high school and college, I worked at Target full time for, like, 4 years and hated every day of it, but, like, nothing against Target, I just don't wanna work retail is just not that fun. Um,
No.
it was a good job as far as retail goes. I don't want to talk bad about it, but we had the mass market paperbacks there. They're still on my shelf actually, and I bought them with my employee discount. And I started reading those, and I was like, "This is amazing." It was actually my first like adult fantasy stuff that I'd ever read. I was like, "Man, this is awesome!" And then from there, I googled like similar series to Game of Thrones.
Okay,
And
and
that's
what
when
they
Wheel of
give
Time
you?
popped up. Wheel of Time was number one on the
Wheel of
list.
Time?
Yeah, so I read that. It's like, this isn't that similar. It's just like an epic fantasy, right? But, yeah, so that's when I got into
Again,
that.
not dogging Wheel of Time, but it was when you were, like, really falling back in love with fantasy, which is when most people find that series.
Uh-huh. So you're
Like,
saying I didn't know better.
I see with no, that's not what I'm saying, but, like, I see, like, with Petrick, like, he'd read a ton of fantasy before coming to Wheel of Time, and while
Mhm.
he doesn't, like, badmouth it, I don't badmouth it,
Sure.
but like, the way he talks about it isn't the same passion that some people have with that series, and I think that is a lot of people's gateway. Like, that's
Yeah.
even people who've read fantasy, like, that was their first, like, capital F fantasy series.
Mhm. Yeah. That's a good point. Um, yeah, for sure. So you're going through these when did you find, like, some of these, like, super crazy like Malazan and things like that? Some of these, like, huge, very in-depth, like, you really gotta sit there and chew your food kinda books.
So my first duty station I got sent to was Fairbanks, Alaska.
Okay.
Now, that is like, so in Alaska, you have like one base. This is Elmendorf. It's like near the coast. You're living in Anchorage, so it's very, there's a city life, there's people. I was in Fairbanks, which is 6 hours north of that. And in that 6 hour drive, it's nothing but bare wasteland.
Okay.
And I was stationed somewhere where there were more moose than there were humans. So so I just read a ton. I snowboarded a little bit, but no matter what pastime you have in Alaska, eventually you're gonna get bored of stuff. It's
Mm,
like 23 hours of nighttime at some points throughout the year. So I really doubled down on my reading while I was there because there's really nothing else to do. Everybody else was getting drunk, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
uh-huh.
Um, so I got into. I remember it was like a trifecta. I hit Lies of Locke Lamora, Assassin's Apprentice, and Gardens of the Moon like in 1 month,
Man.
and was obsessed with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of those are in my top 5 series of all time. Like, still to this day, they all only got, well, I'd say Lies of Locke Lamora is the best Gentleman Bastards book, but the fact that Gardens of the Moon and Assassin's Apprentice blew my mind that much, and both of those series had book twos that were amazing step ups. Like
Mm.
Deadhouse Gates and Royal Assassin to me are what cemented those series as like god tier, untouchable.
Ooh. I can't wait until you read Howling Dark then. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know, I need to get to it. I think I have, yeah, I have Howling Dark and Demon in White in the little broken binding editions. And
Yeah.
dude, I really loved Empire of Silence. I know a lot of people say like get through book 1 and then it gets good, and I was like, okay, I'm
It's
10
good
pages
already.
in, already good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It does get way better, but it's already awesome. So
I'm really scared though because I have a deep, deep, deep love for Red Rising. That's another one that's in my top
okay.
5 of all time. It's like my
Uh-huh.
number 4 or my number 5.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, I'm obsessed with Red Rising. And if what you and everybody else is saying about Sun Eater, then Red Rising's days might be numbered. Like it might have Challenger approaching for favorite
Might be.
sci-fi series. And I
Woohoo.
just don't want to let my boy Darrow down.
Man. Well, I mean, but neither series is done. Maybe
Right.
Rocky butchers the ending and Pierce Brown just nails it. And there you go.
I think they're both gonna nail it though.
I think so too.
From from the way they carry themselves. I get that they're different series, but you have a 7-book series, Roman inspired, sci-fi epic. It's kind of like hard. Like people are like, why are you comparing them? It's like, because they're comparable. Like,
It's funny. Like they are like they're very similar in those senses, but they're also incredibly different at the same. Like
oh
they,
yeah,
you know
like
what I mean? It's interesting.
thematically, they're very
Yeah.
on other ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, both first person.
Both
It's
first
it's just
person.
funny how they both Red Rising, funny enough that you bring that up, like, I went into that series with this idea in my head, like, I hate first person narrative. It's just
Mhm.
not my thing. And then that the first book, I was like, "Ah, okay," like, you
But
know,
Golden Sun got
but
you.
Golden Sun got me, and I'm like, "Okay, now I really love first person." And, it was cool. Shout out PAX. Yeah,
Pax Al Talamanus.
let's go.
The
Um,
audiobook, I believe you said you're not a real big audio person, but Tim Gerard
yeah.
Reynolds kills it on the Red Rising audios.
That's I think I hear the first law ones and like there's a several other ones that I hear are really really good narrators. Those are probably the ones that I would those two or the Andy Serkis Lord of the Rings are probably one of them that I would try if I go back and try audio again. I tried the Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobook a while
Mhm.
back and I'm not it just didn't hit me and I don't know if it's the
Right.
story or the like the voice acting fantastic, right? Like amazing performance, whatever. But for whatever reason, and it might just be that I was driving and like I was spacing out, or
Mhm.
spacing out from the story, focused on driving, of course.
Right.
And you know, so I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I want to do it. Like I want to get more books in me, but at the same time, usually like my commute is when I have like booktube stuff playing. So that's when I catch
Right.
up on those things. So it's hard to let go of that.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, you definitely don't wanna cut that out.
Yeah.
I wish I watched more booktube. Like, I feel like since the irony is I used to watch a ton, and since making my channel, studying for my nursing exam, doing all this stuff, it's like I barely have time to watch the stuff
Uh-huh.
that inspired me to do my own.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
funny
a
how that works.
difficult thing, man.
It is. It's so hard to balance everything. What winds up happening to me a lot is I'm also like I'm a really big NBA fan.
Mhm.
So like right now during like the season's getting close to the end, so like I'm listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff about that, which is like a lot of the time that I normally would watch booktube stuff. So I get way behind on those, and then I like feel bad. Like I make friends with people, and I'm like, I still like you, I promise. I just don't have time to watch all the videos, and so it's tough. But everyone gets it, also, right? Like we're all adults, we all got stuff going on, and it is what it is. But it's tough to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is what it is. So, I know you also have gotten into the Edan trilogy, right? And
Yeah, I
we're a
was
big fan of that
pretty
first one.
impressed by that.
Yeah.
I read so I'm not a person that reads, like, a lot of series back to back. I think Malazan's the only
Same.
one I did
Yeah.
that with. Usually, I read something else. So I haven't gotten to, Prophet yet, but I
Mhm.
am like, that's not because Way of Edan wasn't good. I really enjoyed it. I just take little breaks. I like
Yeah.
to go back to a world when it's really calling me, not
Yeah.
immediately on the heels of the last one.
Yeah. This is also like, I'm finding out that there are some books that I really want to let it have space to breathe.
Mhm.
Like Curse of the Mistwraith's a great example. I was so excited from the moment I closed that back cover. I was so excited to get to book 2. But I knew, just like Malazan, just like Stormlight, just like about Sun Eater, a bunch of these things. If I let it have like a month or two to just sit in my head, I like it even more, and I get even more out of the next. Like I pick up on things that I'm just like, oh wait, I just connected this thing, and so it's kind of nice to do that, and then it just keeps everything feeling fresh. Also, I feel like I don't really burn out on stuff.
Yeah, I kinda learned that with Sanderson that I burned out because I, like, did Cosmere in release order, like, all the way
Oh
up to
yeah,
Oathbringer, and by the time I got up to Oathbringer, I was like, "I'm done, I tap." But,
yeah.
after that, I, just read them as they came out.
Uh huh. John doesn't get. John, you guys are crazy busy, I'm sure. I wonder if John heard the Oathbringer slander that was happening earlier. I
Not
know that's his
slander,
favorite,
it's
right?
like, I give it, like, on my rating, like, I don't know, like, 4, 4.5. I feel like I'm a terrible reviewer because I rate everything, like, 4 or 5,
That's how I
like,
would be. Yeah, I'm
I
so like,
if I didn't love it, I'm not even talking about it.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. I just don't
There's
have the
not enough
energy
hours
for
in
it.
the day to
No,
rip on a book I didn't like.
no. It's like I don't even want to finish it if I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Well, cats who are slow eaters need to be great for catching up on books. I often will have stuff going while I'm eating as well. Anytime where there's like my brain doesn't have to be focused on something else, good time to try to catch up on something. Downer forever. True. Downer. I still can't decide if I like Downer or Kaladin better. Which one is more like my boy? I'm not sure.
Wind and Truth made me surprising to myself. I actually became an Adolin fan on that one. Um,
Aelin was awesome.
I'm like, okay, he's the best friend slash son slash husband of your favorite character. But in Wind of Truth, I was like, wait, is he one of my favorite characters now?
Yeah, he
He had a
was
really good arc in Wind and Truth.
fantastic. There was, I don't want to spoil anything. There was one piece of it that I wasn't happy with. I thought we kind of sort of undercut something that could have been a really cool journey for him. Um, if people
I
have read the
think I
book,
know what you're
they
talking
might know what I'm
about.
talking about.
I think I
But
know what you're talking about.
yeah, but other than that, I thought he was just, I don't know, just fantastic. But hi Joanna, thank you for stopping
Hello.
by. See, I'm not a college basketball guy. I just do the pro, which I know is really lame because people actually play a lot harder and it's more entertaining in college. But I don't know why. It's just yeah. um, we'll have all different takes on stories differently. That's where 100%, 100%. Um, okay, cool. So another question for you, sir. I've seen on your channel you talk about more than, like, you're not just hitting the same. You're not like me, where I just hit all the popular books that everybody's reading right now. You branch
Yeah.
out, right? Like I've seen you talking about comics and all kinds of stuff. So like, How do you
Oh, yeah, I'm a
balance?
huge comics guy, especially recently.
Yeah.
I will say what you're talking about earlier about falling off of reading and coming back to it, that's kind of been
Hmm.
my relationship with comic books.
Okay.
Like, I fell away from it. There was one comic that I've always kept up with, and that you've probably heard of this one. It's Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, like, the one I've kept up with throughout the years, but
Hmm.
aside from that, I really dropped off of comic books, and I recently came back to it, and I've been trying like, I noticed that my comic book videos don't do as well, but I really enjoy making them, and I
Keep
if I
doing
can get,
them.
like,
Yep.
one person to try out some graphic novels, then
That's awesome. Yeah.
I
Yeah. I say keep doing it for sure.
One
That's
thing I think a lot of people fall into the trapping of, and this is kind of where I was at, is they find like characters that they love really well, like Spider-Man or Batman,
mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, I need to read all of his continuity." And what I like to do, I find creators I like I'll find a certain
Mm,
writer, and then I'll read whatever character he's writing on. Like Tom King is one of them. No matter what he's writing, I'm gonna give it a read. Um, I think he's writing Wonder Woman right now. He wrote Mr. Miracle. So I just like to follow different creators because I learned early on in my comic book going is that you will follow characters you love, and then all of a sudden, as the writer changes, you'll see a shift in
mm,
quality. So
sure.
I invest more in the creator than the fictional character. But I mean,
Yeah. I like that a
obviously,
lot.
like everyone, I have favorites, fictional character
Sure.
wise.
Sure. Uh, Nice House by the Sea apparently is great.
Nice House by the
There you
Sea.
go. Here we go. We're adding it to the list. That's cool. Do you have so this is what blows my mind, right? Like growing up, I thought like when I was
Oh,
little and
that's by
whatever.
James Tinian.
Yeah,
Oh man, he's awesome. Sorry, what were you
there you
saying?
go. That I always like assumed that comics were all like superheroes when I was little, right? And
Right.
only just now am I realizing that like that's not necessarily the case. There's like all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff out there. So that's cool. That's another world that I want to explore at some point. It's just trying to make the time for it is the tricky thing. But at least they're short and you can squeeze them in.
Yeah, but if you're like me and you're like a physical reader, I mean, they are short. The downside is like they do be hella expensive for something you
Yeah.
could read in one sitting.
Uh-huh. Like manga, it adds up quick.
I think BookTube has seen like a huge adopting of manga, but not quite of graphic novels.
Hmm.
And what I do like about manga is what I was saying, like I follow creators that I like. In manga, the creator is the person like every single issue, every single chapter of One Piece is written by Oda.
Yeah.
And I think that's why manga do so well is because you don't have like a company saying
Mm,
like, "Hey, we're pulling you off of Naruto and putting this writer on Naruto," you know?
sure.
Like people
Yeah,
kept
that
their
makes a lot of
original
sense.
characters.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of manga, do you have Berserk opinions?
I love Berserk. It used to be my favorite manga. Now it's One Piece. But the only
Mm,
thing that's pulling Berserk back from that number one spot is I think Kentaro Miura was a genius. His comedy was absolutely awful to me. Like Isidro and Puck, especially in the later chapters, I'm like, please, like you are ruining a masterpiece right now. Like, please let
yeah,
Beavis and Butthead shut up. Like
that's
they were
fair.
killing me, dude. Like there would be
Fair.
dramatic scenes going on. Like we're processing Casca's trauma, and Puck and Isidro are just being S's like morons.
That's fair. Humor's so tough, dude. Humor's so tough.
But One
Um,
Piece, its humor is actually like that.
their humor's
One
pretty
Piece makes
good.
me laugh my ass off multiple times.
Yeah, I don't know if I've gotten to that level, but I'll definitely like I'll be like, ha! Like I'll have like a little thing like that. There hasn't. I don't think there's ever been a book that's made me like laugh. Manga, I don't think like there's been anime that have, but even that's super rare. So I don't know. There's just something that seems like it gets lost in translation for me.
I have laughed at Malazan and I've laughed at Kings of the Wild. And you probably guess
Hmm.
which characters made me laugh in Malazan.
Yeah, sure. There's some there. It's funny. Like I'll read them, be like this is really funny, but it doesn't make me like laugh out loud.
Yeah, there's like Krupp I thought was funny, but not
I
funny
love Krupp.
haha. T-Hole and Bug were funny haha for me.
Yeah,
Like I actually audibly laughed at
yeah.
some
I
of
laugh.
Bug's witticisms.
Yeah, I would like chuckle at like Iskrall Pust was. I love Pust a
Oh
lot.
yeah, same here.
He was great. Him and his wife.
I hope they. Oh, dude. Okay. This is like very minor. Is okay. Like not addressing any plot details. Just something I was hoping would happen. You know
Okay.
how Sergeant Hellion, like hates
Yeah.
spiders.
Yeah.
I wanted Iskarl's pus wife to turn into spiders in front of Hellion at one point.
Oh yeah, that'd be really
You know how
cool.
she's like drunk and so animated in her gestures? Like
Yeah.
I thought that would have. I thought that I'm like it's too perfect for him not to, but it never
Yeah.
really happened
You're right. That would be amazing. Hmm.
because
Yeah.
his
Well.
wife is like a
Yeah.
divers.
Yeah. However you
Yeah,
say that. Weird Malazan
D
pronunciation. Yeah. Jet.
apostrophe one letter an apostrophe and then
You got to get the apostrophes in there for sure. Jagged humor. Yeah. They're funny for sure. And like a really, it's like
facts,
a weird,
especially in
like cold,
Carcanis.
dark. I gotta read Carcanis. I
It's
gotta
really
do it.
good. Book 2 does end on a cliffhanger though.
Okay. Well, I think he's
But it
book 3. I think is supposed to come out within the next couple years. I think.
Walk in Shadow, I think it's called.
Believe so. Believe so.
Yeah.
Other manga. Kingdom's supposed to be good. Vinland.
Oh
I've
yeah,
watched
I
the
saw
anime of
Patrick
Vinland
was
Saga.
saying that's getting
Okay.
an English translation.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've seen the anime of this and it's fantastic, but I haven't read the manga yet. I want the deluxe versions, but you've always been spending too much money on books, so I gotta chill.
Oh, like the red ones? They kind of look like the
Mhm.
Berserk ones, low key.
Yeah. Yeah. They do.
Yeah, same
They're
here.
nice. Some of those they're making those deluxe of like all kinds of. I saw a deluxe of Trigun at Barnes and Noble the other day.
Oh, same.
Like nice look. I was like, okay, well now I want to read Trigun. So yeah, it's cool.
The
Terry
irony of
Pratchett,
me
yeah.
being like Vinland Saga Deluxe, $40. I don't know. Broken Binding edition of a book I've never heard of in my entire life. $60. Yes. Yes, I'll take 15 of them
Yeah.
right now. Like,
It's like, but it has art, and then the manga's only art. Like it's got so much
yeah,
more art too,
yeah.
right?
It's like, look
Yeah.
at these sprayed edges. Meanwhile, this is like just a full-on graphic experience. Like,
Uh-huh.
but Broken Bindings just, and then there's also the added like, what if it sells out? Like Wavy
Yeah.
Dan, I set an alarm to wake up and order that,
Me
and they
too.
ended up not selling out for like another month and a half. But
Yeah.
I like,
That surprised me.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that would have sold a lot quicker. But I'm glad Philip got them sold out.
Yes, me too.
But I woke
Yeah.
up, I was like, I'm not gonna risk it. I'm not gonna risk it. I'm getting
Uh-huh.
it.
That's what I did. The first thing I ever ordered from them was the Malazan set because
Mhm.
I remember I got on their wish because when they announced they were doing that set, I was like, "How do I buy this?" And I went down the Reddit rabbit hole and found the wish list and like, signed up. And I think I got accepted to the tier 2 thing like right before the pre-sale went up for the Malazan stuff. So I was like, "Yes, I know I can get it now." 'Cause I was scared they'd sell out before it even got off of their subscription. Like it didn't, but yeah. So that I had an alarm. I woke up early, ordered it. Did the same thing with Sun Eater.
So I was in between semesters and I was working at Waffle House, which might
Nice.
I tell you, there are some stories I could tell about that
I'm
place.
sure there
But
is.
it was I was the only cook that night and it was going on sale 6 a.m. It was either 5 or 6 a.m. Central Time US,
Okay.
which was like midnight in the UK.
Yeah.
And I like told everyone for hours, I was like, when it hits 6 a.m., I will not be on this grill. I don't care if the other cook is outside smoking a cigarette. I will not be standing here.
Yep.
And
Good
like
for
it
you.
was like mid order. They were like, and how Waffle House works is they'll be like, pull one sausage, drop 2 hash browns scattered, mark, sausage hash brown bowl. And I was like, okay. I set the spatula down. I was like, no, I told you guys. That guy's just unlucky that he and I
Yeah.
was like, I was a really good employee. I know everybody thinks they're a good employee, but I was a good employee. And like everybody liked me there. So they were like, go get your book.
Yeah.
They, like
That's
they were
cool.
like, yeah, they understood. And somebody else hopped on the grill. But I
Nice.
was like, yeah, there's no way I'm missing out on this. And I think my copies just came in, but I've since moved to my
Mm,
apartment here with my sister. So it's back in my dad's house. So I gotta like
okay.
go get them to
Yeah.
have my amazing first 3 Malazan books on the
Oh,
shelf.
they look even better in person, man. They really do.
I know I've been seeing
Oh,
everyone get them, and I'm like, oh, and I
yeah.
called my dad. I'm like, is the package in? I'm like, I want him to like open it, describe them to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Just like
I'm really
whispering the details.
yeah. I was able to get the Sun Eaters here because I ordered those a little bit afterwards, and I'd already had
Nice.
my apartment. But
Yeah.
I think I ordered Sun Eater after Malazan, but they came in a little bit
Mhm.
before.
Yeah, mine did
But
too. I wonder why. I wonder if it's just because of the volume of the lots of ones that they had to do. I know they had like some weird printing stuff too, with like the paper thickness and stuff like that
mhm.
was weird. Um, Speaking of the Sun Eater ones, did you see the art reveal that they dropped today?
Yeah, I saw it on your story actually. It has like the
Yeah,
Cielson, and
dude,
I'm
I'm
pretty
so
hyped for
excited.
that.
Yeah, I'm
But
not gonna talk about the scene, but
oh,
great scene, great scene.
I'm a publication order enthusiast, so I still need to listen to The Lesser Devil before I get into
Yeah.
which I suspect that Crispin is not as dumb as Hadrian makes him out to be. I think Hadrian's a little
Hmm.
self-important. I don't know. I
Interesting.
do love Hadrian as a character though. I think he's
I do too.
pretty top tier.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, the Yakovian art on Memories of Ice is crazy.
Oh god, I love
So good.
Ikovian.
Oh man, that's another one. I think my plan is to, once I get the full set of 10 of these editions, to do a reread. Because I've only read it once, and the first 4 books I read unbelievably slow, like 5 or 10 pages a day, like
Oh wow.
unbelievably slow. This is when I wasn't reading a whole lot. I was just super busy with I was working. I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. every day for work, and like, all this stuff. So I would like lay down and try to read a little bit before I fell asleep, and I would just zonk out immediately. But so it took forever, and like I still got that big impact of the Itkovian scene, but I think it would have been even more if I was like in the story deeper.
Mhm.
So like, everyone talks about like slow down when you read Malazan, but like for me, I'm like, I need to just speed up a little bit. Like I was too slow.
No, I busted through Malazan, and I
Yeah.
am very grateful that I did that because there are definitely things that if I would have let that sit longer, I would have forgotten details.
Hmm.
Like I know when I go read the second Witness book, there's going to be things from the original 10 that I've completely
Yeah,
like in
for sure.
Witness, there's this one hunter type tracker character from House of
Hmm.
Chains, like the
Yep.
beginning you're familiar.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking
For
about?
sure.
They
Yep.
mentioned his name, and I had to look it up on Wiki because I was like, "Who is
Yeah.
like? You really expect me to remember over like 10 books ago?" Because I'd read like the novels of the Malazan Empire, Carcanus, Beauchamp, Corbel Brooch. So
Yeah.
I'm coming back after like so many books in that world,
Uh
and I'm like,
huh.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. I remember I saw the name and I was like, I know this name from some, like, I know I've seen this person before, but that
I
was
had the
it.
same thing, but I just couldn't for the life
Yeah.
of me. Some people like I've recently found I think you did a video with him recently, Four Corners of the Page.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw
He's
his
great.
Malazan ranking and he's like, "Oh, it's my favorite series. I've read it 3 times." It made me ashamed that it's my favorite series because I've read it once. I was like, "Oh yeah,
He had a similar story of how he read through all of them pretty quick. He was on like a road trip, and it was like a really formative time in his life when he had that series at the same time. And I was talking to him about that too, how like the time and place of where you're at in your life when you read a certain thing can really influence how much it means to you.
dude,
Yeah, so true.
absolutely." I do think that's why you know how I told you I read, Gentleman Bastards, Realm of the
Hmm.
Elderlings, Malazan all around the same time. I feel like in Alaska, I have like one really good friend from Alaska, and I still keep up with him every day. But most of the military mindset people that were stationed up there didn't really have the same like outlook on life as me, and were drastically
Mm.
different people. I think because I was so isolated and it was a really low point for me that these books were just even though I was escaping to some of the most brutal and depressing worlds, it was such like a joy for me whenever, I got home, I took my ABUs off. I didn't have to be, Airman Jennings, that's my last name. I didn't have to be Airman Jennings. I could just be some dude reading Malazan. And
Yeah.
I think I've read books that are like approaching that level of quality, but I don't know if like those will ever be topped as far as favorites go because of where I was at when reading them.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense to me. Yeah, I think that I've sort of had that experience, but it hasn't been that profound. I kind of feel I kind of feel like that's part of why Sun Eater's hitting me like it is.
Mhm.
I think that there's like parts of Hadrian's journey that I'm really identifying with. And there's aspects of his character that I'm like, that is me. Like, there's other stuff that's not me at all, but like, there's some key aspects that I'm like, okay, wow. Um, so like, I think that to me feels like I'm kind of having a really shaping experience like that, which is fun.
Do you feel like it's like aligning with your personal journey?
Yeah, and in some, I'm not trying to destroy a sun necessarily, but like, it's
Right.
yeah. Taking Detour, Knockout Stone Wielder, and Orb Scepter Throne. I loved Orb Scepter Throne. That was my favorite of those six.
I
It's
really liked Orb Scepter Throne, but I think the one after Orb Scepter Throne, Blood and Bone,
hmm
I think that was another expectation thing because everyone told me it was the worst of the novels of the Malazan Empire, and then I read it and I was like, "Nah, this is pretty fire."
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't my favorite one, but it was still the atmosphere of the forest or the
Right.
jungle was like, whoa, it's like
I
tangible.
loved it. The only
Yeah.
one I didn't enjoy that much was Assail, and I did like Assail. It's just after the convergence epicness of
hmm
Crippled God to read another finale, it felt like less converging, and but I realized that's not what Esselmont was going for in that book. You know, it wasn't meant to tie
Yeah.
up novels of the Malazan Empire. They were mostly self-contained stories.
hmm
So I've kind of gone back on that and been like, yeah, it was an enjoyable read. But I think I
Yeah.
just again went into it with the wrong expectations.
It's fair. It's easy to do. I think some parts of the ending of that one that like tied up some things from even way back in Gardens of the Moon was like that was so satisfying.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that was very very cool. But I kind of had the first like three quarters of it. I was like, am I just gonna give up on this? I was like, I don't know. But then I'm so glad I finished it because the ending just completely changed my perspective on it. It was great.
Wasn't it Orb Scepter Throne that had the first mention of like the Gardens of the Moon?
I think so.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, whoa, that wasn't just a name. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Which part of me, like, I just really love Darujistan and that whole those characters and just the city in general. I just love
Mhm.
it to death. So I think that's probably
Same.
why it's my favorite. But um, always look for books that will top other reads. Otherwise, there's nothing. 100%, 100%. It's part of why we're doing Wars of Light and Shadow. I'm trying to see how quickly this becomes one of my top three bare minimum
It is
of all time.
honestly like there's obviously books that I love that I'm like, okay, I understand why this isn't the most popular thing ever.
hmm
But Janny is one of the few like her Wars of Light and Shadow series specifically. I haven't read anything else by her yet. It's just like truly one of those things that I do not understand how it was not bigger. And hearing
hmm
her in her talk with you about how she like had to fight to keep publishing the books because the publishing house like didn't see the worth of it. I'm like, that is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Actually, like that's one of the few where I'm like, I genuinely am astonished, like perplexed that this was not bigger. It's just
Shooketh, you might say.
I'm shooketh. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dude. I really really hope that all the exposure that it's getting on BookTube and then that goes out to Twitter and TikTok and all the other stuff, right? Like, I'm really hoping that that makes a big push and we can get, dude, if we got special editions of these, I mean, come on. And I
I
know that
I
like
will
some more of the audiobooks and like everything.
I would also leave the grill midway through an order to
Uh
order the
huh.
first 3 Wars of Light and Shadow books.
Yeah, there you go. They know that Broken Binding knows they can do big series, right? Like they've done two. Well, I guess they haven't finished them, but I don't see why it
They're
would
gonna be
go
great.
awry. Yeah. So like they could do another big series. Why not? Um, yeah, we'll see. But I know the exposure is great, but I think another big thing is like, if more reviews and stuff can be huge. Like not just on here, but if we can all go on Amazon and leave a review and stuff like that, like that's always good. Yeah,
Agreed,
man.
agreed.
Hopefully it blows up even more. We can continue to get stuff. I know we're still getting more books in the future, which is great. Different, not in the same series as far as I know, but
Right.
well, no, I know she's mentioned doing like a sequel to the Gallant, another novella in there. That'd be awesome.
I recently read her short stories because on her website it said like these are the one there's like 3 short stories that are safe after Curse of the Mist Wraith, and it's like the decoy,
Okay.
the Heir of Prophecy and the Reigns of something. I read all three of them like back to back as my little, like just something short that I could get in before Ships of Merior.
Yeah,
And she writes awesome short stories, like
I need to read
truly
them.
like she is one of the few along with Erickson that can give you like a character and within like 10 lines you're already like weeping for them. Like I think she's pretty talented in like getting you attached to someone with an incredibly small amount of words.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I need to find those short stories. Then I guess for some reason I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah, she's got like 6, but one of them you have to read after Warhost of Vastmark, and one
Okay.
is supposed to be after. You can find it on like the Paravia website where they go
Yeah.
over it,
Cool.
but
Sweet.
they're really good.
Well, I know what I'm doing as soon as the stream is done. I'll go
Would you
find some
say
of those.
are the Sun Eater like novellas and short stories? Are they like need to read level?
Um, yeah, so the novellas, yes. Quality wise, they get better with each one.
Mhm.
But the first one's still good, don't get me wrong. But it's kind of like Empire of Silence was really good, but everyone's gonna say it's the worst of the six or whatever. Not everybody, a lot of people. Um, so, but in terms of some plot things that come up later, you'll get a lot more out of it if you read the novellas as you're going. The
Mm.
short stories, there's like the first collection is good and it like fills out the universe, but there's not like big ramifications of anything. The second collection, I was like, I'm a short story fan now after I read that. Like that
Oh,
turned me into,
really?
yeah,
It
I
made
was
you
like,
like short stories more?
it did. And then there's, if you don't read those at all, you're not going to miss anything in the main books. But if you do read them, then something will pop up in one of the main books, and you're like, I remember this guy, or I remember when this thing happened, or so it's kind of like little Easter eggs, which is
Okay.
was really fun. And I know Rockio has a reading order on his website that I think is spot on. So
I need to
yeah,
check that out.
yeah, they're
Would you
they're
say
good.
Sun Eater is like one of your all-time favorites or the all-time favorite?
It it certainly is, it's on the list for sure. I actually finally broke down and made a top 10 series of all time video that's gonna come out tomorrow. So,
Okay,
we
okay,
shall
then yeah,
see.
don't spoil it.
We shall see.
I shall
It's on
wait
the
in
list.
anticipation.
It's on the list, but I won't say exactly where it
I
is.
made one too that's not been edited yet, but
Mhm.
I cheated and did 15 because I was like,
Nice.
there were too many that were at that number 10 spot. I was like, 5 Warrior Angels? No, no, I can't not have First Law. And then I was like, okay, from the top 15.
Yeah, there you go. That's smart. I think I did it is a top 10, but I think I had 3 that I was like, "This crushes my soul to not have these on here, but I'm gonna make it 10." But I still wanted to mention them. So they're sort of like, "Yeah, they're on here," but,
I
you
feel
know.
like you're being kind and saying it was smart. I feel like I took the coward's way out. I'm like, I can't. I'm just going to make the list bigger. I control the list. The list doesn't control me. But really, it's just
You
because
don't.
I couldn't limit it down. Like,
It's so hard. It's so hard to rank stuff. Like, I think about,
oh, I
even
didn't put
even,
Dresden
like
Files on there at all. Well, I'm not re recording that,
see?
but
Yeah, right? That's why I'm like I finally honestly, I wasn't gonna make it as a video because I was like, I don't wanna I don't know. I don't it just I don't know. I don't know why. I just had, like, this thing. I was like, "I don't know if I wanna make that." But then I'm sitting here and I'm like, "Man," well, first I see Preachers get 10,000 views or whatever. Um, so that's enticing. But no, but the biggest thing was I was like, I think it's cool. I heard, Chris at Bearded Book Beast talk about this, that it's like a snapshot of, like, where you are now, and then you can remake the video in a year or 2, and you see how much has changed, and you see your evolution as a reader and
right.
what has meant the most to you and changed your life and things like this. And I was like, "Okay, that's
And I think a
convincing.
lot of
I'll
your
go."
viewers are going to be really hyped to see like where you would rank your favorites because I know a lot of what your favorites are. I don't know
Sure.
the gradient of them though, and I
Yeah.
know I myself am very intrigued to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I hope it's interesting. I hope it's not, too predictable. I imagine, like, people can narrow down probably, top 5 or top 3 or something pretty easily, I would imagine. But, it's by far my long it's, like, almost an hour long.
Oh,
I was trying to not ramble because like, I have to be careful because it's so easy for me to which is funny because 'cause I'm pretty introverted, but, like, if I'm just gonna talk to a camera, I can just go forever. It's hard for me to be concise. So I was trying to be focused and be pretty concise, but then, it's my favorite series of all time or whatever. It's hard to not talk for 5, 8 minutes or something, right? So I
Yeah,
don't
once
know.
you get into
It's tricky.
I feel like I'm probably one of them. I mean, I don't want to assume I know everyone just by viewing them on my phone screen, but I feel like I'm definitely on the more introverted side of people that are on BookTube. I
Mm.
really just don't like to take up space most of the time. But if you start talking to me about fantasy books, that introverted individual is gone. He's completely out of the
Oh yeah.
building,
Yeah.
and I will just like at work. I'm working at this little music school as a front desk person in between semesters,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, introduce yourself." I was like, "Hey, I'm me." I'm very quiet. And then the other day, one of the teachers was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go home and read or watch season 2 of Arcane." She was talking about how she was about to finish season 2 of Arcane, and like they saw a completely different individual. I was like, "Oh my god, Echo is so dope! Arcane season 2 is fire!" And they were like, "Whoa," because they'd never seen that sort of reaction out of me. Like I'm usually just like, oh, "Okay," but
Yeah.
I was like, "Arcane is fire!" And like they couldn't get a word in because I was just like, and another thing that's great
Amazing.
about Arcane.
Yeah.
I was just going on and on.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that. Yeah. It's funny how that's kind of been my experience also. Like I remember when I got my Naruto tattoo on my arm and I was just like, I just like it, whatever, right? It was nowadays it's like anime is popular, right? So people get stuff because it's trendy and whatever. But when I got it, like, you weren't the cool kid if you liked anime, right?
Right.
So I remember I got it, and then I have made I've had more people just come up to me randomly and be like, "Dude, cool tattoo. I like it too." Or like I've made more friends just from like this weird nerdy stuff from than anything else combined. Like people just get so there's something special about these books, manga, TV shows, anime, whatever, that people I don't know, we just open up a lot more easily for whatever reason. But it's
I
great.
will say one thing that's pushed me into wanting to get like comics into BookTube. This is nothing against comic book fans, but I feel like the BookTube like social circles are a lot just more positive and like
Mm,
genuine. When you get into comics, you find like so many people that are like, "Ugh, why'd they make this political?" And I'm just
oh,
like, I
okay.
want to stay away from this,
Sure.
and I want all this positive energy. Because when you're already introverted and you find a community like BookTube that's just like so open, it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, this is where I want to be. I don't like the comic. I'm not saying like every comic book creator is toxic. I'm just saying I've seen patterns there where it's like very much like, if you like this Green Lantern, you're an idiot. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I relate. What's up, Chance?
What up?
The
What up?
I'm on the internet quite a bit for my PhD and for my job, like in the fitness industry.
Mhm.
And fitness Instagram is the most toxic black hole I have ever seen in my life. It's awful.
Oh, dude.
Awful. And
Whenever
this
I
is so
was like
nice.
a little
Yeah.
bit into the gym, which I'm not anymore, but whenever I was, like any like fitness account you find, like the level of misogyny in the comments is like insane. Even if the
Yeah.
video wasn't even pertaining to anything to do with like gender differences. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa.
People
Whoa.
are
That's at least what I found on like Instagram profiles and
yeah.
stuff. I'm like, whoa.
It's crazy. I'm also like specifically because I'm like doing it for a PhD, right? Like I'm the sciencey guy, right? So like that's
Mhm.
the circle that I'm mostly seeing. And it's like, if if you want to talk about like a study that came out, right? And then there's just this flood of people that are like, "Oh, you're an idiot if you think that's right," or just everyone thinks they know everything. And I'm just like, there's a part of me that wants to like sun some people every once in a while, but I just, I
Mhm.
want to be professional, obviously. But it's just no one is just that's not true. There are some people who go out of their way and they're very nice and they're very welcoming and they're awesome. But
Right.
a lot of people, it's just so competitive in a negative way. And it's like, I'm right, this person's a moron. Like there's just no nuance at all. And that's part of why like booktube has been so amazing and just like everybody's so nice. Everyone's just friends and like oh, you like that book? I didn't like it that much, but cool, right? Like, you know?
No, like I can watch someone gush about Wheel of Time and just be like happy that they loved it. Like
Yeah,
I think that's just such an awesome community. I'm not like, why you liked Rand? Like I'd never even think
I
that.
love
Like it's
Rand.
just
Rand's my
such
favorite.
an open thing. And I know like there are people commenting on mine that are like, I just couldn't get into Malazan. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine, man.
Yeah, cool. Read other stuff, you know?
It's okay to be wrong. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly. It's okay to be uncultured.
I think I've had one like rage bait comment, and it was on Philip Chase like shared my unboxing, and this is like okay, so I'm scared of like scrutiny. Like I think that's part of why I'm introverted. I'm scared people will be assholes. But
Sure.
I actually got an asshole comment, and this guy was like, "When did you transition?" But I changed from
Okay.
the like he meant like when did you transition? I
Right.
changed from the little like TikTok mics to this. I'm like, what if he meant transition to the other mic?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to assume this nice
True.
young man is rage
Yeah.
baiting me. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, transition into what? And he said, a man. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
oh. But I kind
Yeah.
of took it as like that was
Yeah.
my first rage bait. It was bound to happen.
Yeah, you made it now. You made
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I haven't
Like,
gotten negative yet, so I'm not even a real booktuber. We gotta wait till we get some people who are angry for no reason. Or bots.
yeah.
Like
And then
one of the two.
I was like, thank you, my first rage bait. This is going in my journal. And then he like said some other stuff, and I was like, noted. And then I think he was expecting like a crash out. And when I was just
Uh-huh.
like, why are
Yeah.
you doing this, man?
Yeah, yeah. Misery loves company. That's 100%.
Facts,
100%
facts.
right.
What's up,
Good stuff.
Chance? Loved your short story. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
awesome.
Here we go.
Actually, I was on like a short story kick one day. I read like the Janny short stories, and then I
Mhm.
read I forget the name of his short story, but the one he put on his Patreon for free.
Yeah.
I read that one. And the fact that I was able to read like Janny Wirtz and then read Chance's story, and it was like all of a similar quality, I was like, okay, like
Woo-hoo-hoo.
I knew I liked him as a person, so I was gonna read his book. But
Uh-huh.
reading the short story, I was like, okay, this is like not that I expected it not to be great, but I was like, this is better than I was expecting. Like
That's
that
awesome.
sounds so bad. Like I didn't expect it to be awesome. I did. I just yeah, the Blood Rebellion.
Rebellion. Is that wow? That's wild to hear. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ghosts were I just in a short story, I can already tell like the ghosts that he's setting up have like a good camaraderie about them, and I'm very intrigued to read Mercy Tears of the Fallen. Yeah, that's
Yep.
what it's
There
called.
we go. Yeah, dude. We're I think pretty much all the booktube I think is everybody likes Chance, right? So I think pretty much everyone's excited to get their hands on that finally. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, the
I
cover's
do
super sick.
Oh man, yeah, it's awesome. Um I do want to circle back to one thing because I'm always on the lookout for people who are cultured and correct and enjoy life. And that's you mentioned Magic the Gathering. How deep have we gotten down the rabbit hole of Magic?
All right, so I feel like I am going to I feel like I'm about to be shamed. Um, so here's the thing, right? I was really into Theros.
Okay.
That's like where I jumped on in like MTG 2017. And I remember me and my best friend Ben, Pentecostal household, we would
Uh-huh.
have the magic cards and his mom would come in the room, we'd throw a blanket over our, we'd be
Uh-huh.
like, oh no, because like Pentecost is like not I'm not saying like broad I know there's some Pentecostals that aren't like this, but a lot of that religion, like they hear magic and they're kind
Sure.
of wary of
Yeah.
things. And his family was like that. Great people, but they thought Magic the Gathering was more, negative than it actually is. So we would have to hide it. And then at one point, Ben's mom found out, and she's like, "You can play it, but not under our roof." So we went to the garage and played Magic the Gathering in the summer, like hot sweat dripping down our faces. Like I tapped 3 islands, and like just because we weren't allowed to play in the air conditioned house.
Uh-huh.
And
Amazing.
but the moment that's gonna bring you shame is I was going through. We lived in Louisiana. I lived in Louisiana. I've recently moved to Texas, which is a much better atmosphere. I know Texas is known for being like very Bible Belt conservative. Louisiana is even like more so. So you can imagine
Mm,
somebody with long hair and tattoos. It's not really their
sure.
scene.
Sure.
Uh, there's a lot of assumptions made about me in my hometown, so I kind of
Mhm.
came over here. But in the process of moving, I sold like thousands of Magic cards for like a couple $100. Like it was easily like
Wow.
$600 worth of cards that I sold for like 150, and that was all my cards. So now I haven't gotten back into it because I'm like, oh, I threw away all that, and I'm like, really, how much space were those 1,000 cards taken up?
Yeah, not a
But
ton.
when you're like changing, phases in life, you're like out with the old, in with the new.
Sure. Yeah, I
So
get it. That's
the only
fair.
thing to stay is my books. No matter where I go, I be getting some,
Good for you.
banker boxes to put these bad boys
Yeah,
in.
100%. Yeah, that's cool. Did you play were you like a modern guy all the way, or were you commander, or like what format did you like to do?
I just did modern. I never got into
Okay.
Commander, but I would watch YouTube of people playing Commander
Okay,
and
cool.
wish I was that cool.
Yeah. That's funny. I've actually only done commander.
Oh,
Um,
for real?
yeah, that's how I was taught. So I grew up playing Yu-Gi-Oh like a ton, right? And
Mhm.
Yu-Gi-Oh stole almost all of their mechanics from Magic. So I
Okay.
it wasn't very hard for me to learn. And the person who taught me was really into commander, so that's just what I learned. And then modern to me is intimidating because if I get into it, I know I'm gonna want to do it like commander is so easy to just have fun with friends or whatever, right?
Right.
Whereas modern, I'm like, this is the competitive thing. And like, I don't want something that's not in the meta. I don't want to suck, So then I'm gonna want to spend money, and I just don't need to be spending money on that right now. So it's a risky game. But
Yeah, when I have a hobby, I don't really think about my credit card be swiping.
yeah,
Word.
there you
Uh,
go.
so luckily, I have entered a period in my life where I'm not into Magic and gaming right now. So books are the only thing
There you
leaking
go.
my bank account. But
Yeah,
I saw that you were playing D&D. Did you
yeah.
recently get into that, or has that been like years and years of you playing?
It's been relatively recent. I think the first time I ever played was like, man, maybe like a year and a half ago, something like that.
Mhm.
So it's been pretty recent. I remember wanting to play like my entire life. I just like didn't have friends who were into that, right? Like the friends I had in grade school, like we would play Halo or something, but that's like as nerdy as
Right.
it got. Um, and
I
so yeah, I just
am the nerdiest in my social circle as well. So I'm like, "Oh, what if
yeah.
we did?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's a fun idea." And I'm like, like we
But
could.
for real though, actually, you know what? We did like a booktube D&D stream back in like November. We should
Mhm.
do another one. Um, I'm assuming this means that you are into it, right? The fact that you brought this up.
Yeah, yeah.
So like if we do another one, like you are more than welcome to join. That'd be fun. Be cool.
I
That'd be
would
sick.
be if I weren't on camera, I would be leaping with joy. That sounds awesome. That's
That'd
like
be
an
cool.
actual dream.
Yeah, dude. Dude. We had a blast. That was so. I think we did a one shot, and we finished it in like I think it was like right at 3 hours. So it was pretty. We were pretty time efficient,
Mhm.
and it was oh man, it was so much fun. But yeah, I've done that one shot. I did a really short campaign. I think it was maybe like 4 sessions with a group of is actually a group of people from my grad school program that we had to kind of wrestle a few of them into trying it. There's like one or two other guys that are pretty into it, and then we had to
Okay.
kind of try to get a bigger group. But then like when they were open to it, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is cool," right? So no one
I
no one
heard
was
you
ragging on it.
talking about two of your characters where one was like, the premise behind it was he looked up to and admired this hero, but
Yeah,
then, like he was part of that hero like dying, like it was
yeah,
kind of his fault.
uh-huh.
So I thought that that was a pretty cool premise for a character.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy. That one's fun, dude. That's actually that campaign's still going. That funny enough, I play with one of the guys on my PhD committee. I play with him, which is just so cool. The whole group, it's people who've been playing for like 30 years or something, and I'm
Do you
over
ever
here
feel like
brand
you're
new.
like the like do you feel like you have to be like, "Hey dude, should I like?"
Oh, 100%. I'm asking questions. I'm just trying to like learn. Like it's fun to play, but it's like I just want to learn from them because they'll rattle off. I'll be like, I'll ask some question and they'll answer it, and they're like, "Well, you could do this. Like your character could do this, or you know what? Next, like, a different time, if you wanted to do that, you could get this skill because then at this level you get to do this thing, and then you can have this item and then do." And they just know everything inside and out, and it blows
Immediate.
my mind. Yeah, crazy.
Do you feel like playing that has kind of I know I think on your last update you said that you were working on like short stories and getting into
Yeah.
like the flow of writing. Do you feel like D&D has kind of like eased you into that?
Yeah, it's first of all, thank you for actually watching my stuff. This is really cool that you actually like you're paying attention. Um, I'm honored. So yeah, I think it's kind of helped like open me up in a sense of just like anything can happen if that makes sense. Like when I tried to do some writing stuff before I played D&D, it was um I think I'll always be somebody who like plots things out and like has a good outline and everything, but it almost felt like it just didn't have any room to breathe, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Whereas like now with D&D, I was like, oh, like when you really are in the character's head and you're really role playing, it just feels so different. And so now like having to or sort of starting to build that skill set and then bringing that into trying to write some stuff, it just feels like there's just more. I don't know. There's more breadth to kind of play with, which is fun. So
Helped
we'll see
your
where it goes.
headspace on the topic expand a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's given me like a different rather than just kind of sitting there and being like, okay, well, this character is like this. What would they maybe do? Then it's like, well, let me just pretend I'm that character for a minute, and like then it's sort of natural what they would do because that's me for a second, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's we'll see where it goes. Maybe it doesn't help at all, but it certainly seems like it helps here early on anyway.
I have recently become very enamored by the whole like booktubers I've been following for a long time putting out their books. Like it's definitely like
Oh yeah.
a weird niche that I've become obsessed with because I remember this is nothing against him at all. When Daniel Green's book came out, I wasn't really feeling it that much. I read his first little novella, and I
Hmm.
think he's like improved as a writer since then. But I was just like, I don't know how I feel about it. And
Hmm.
then I read Way of Dan by Philip Chase and was completely wowed by that.
Yeah.
Which I've always been more of a fan of Philip Chase's channel than like Daniel Green's,
Mm.
but not to like compare two people, but you know,
Sure. No, I
I'm a
get it. Yeah.
huge Philip Chase fan.
Yeah. Helps to them.
And I thought it was cool for me because I'm the type of person where if like I like someone as a person, I'm more inclined. Not like I'm going to give it a positive review just because I like them as a person, but I get more out of it if I already know
Yeah.
I like the artist. I
Hmm.
appreciate the art even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
100%.
but I was shocked reading Way of a Dan because Philip Chase is like such this like beacon of positivity on YouTube, and like
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to be as dark as it was. I
Hmm.
was like, damn,
Yeah.
people dying, slinging shit everywhere. Like I was not
Yeah.
expecting that from Philip Chase at
Nope.
all.
And there's a bunch of profanity and stuff.
A
I'm just like, where
lot
did
of
this
curse
come from?
words, a lot of
Yeah.
F bombs that
Yeah.
I was not
Yeah.
expecting.
Me either, but I loved it. It was great. Um, and sort of that like duality almost made it better, right? Because I was like,
Yeah,
oh wow, okay, cool. There's other. I want to read Daniel's. I want to read the Neon Ghost one just to see what's
same.
up.
I've heard that that
Um,
one's better.
yeah, I think I want to say John a Talking Story. I think he read it. I think I remember seeing a video of him reviewing it. Maybe.
I
Um,
need to check it out. I mean, I do admire Daniel as a person. I know I'm
mhm,
admire how he came out of that whole situation.
yeah.
And when I do value artists, like I don't know, it's very hard for me to separate the artist from the art. Like I
Mm,
recently did self plug. I recently did a top 3 dark whimsy authors.
yeah,
And what I
it's on
really
my list to
wanted to
watch.
title that was top 3 authors like Neil Gaiman because I love
Mm,
Neil Gaiman. I can't read him right now. And I don't
yeah,
know when I'll be able to come back to it because who he is as an individual is so vile that it's just hard for me to really appreciate his stories like I used to. So I was like, but
sure.
I never said that in the video because it's been a long time since those things came out. I wasn't even on BookTube when all this stuff started coming out. I didn't even want
Mhm,
to attach it to his name, but the inspiration for that is like, I can't read him right now, but here's a bunch of authors that are similar to his style
yeah,
that like I'm not marred by the knowledge that he's a bad person.
yeah,
And
that's cool. I wanna watch that video because I definitely wanna I think I'll like his stuff a lot. I haven't read any of Neil Gaiman's stuff. I have American Gods on my bookshelf because I bought it forever ago, and I was like, "When am I gonna read this?" And now I'm just like, "Ah, tough."
dude, so My sister used to be a really big reader, right? Like she read I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here. I'm sorry.
I'm here
She
for
used to
it. Yeah.
be really into Lord of the Rings, like the movies, but she never got that big into the books. She
Hmm.
loved George R. R. Martin, and she loved her favorite series, which was a surprise to me, was Inheritance. But
Okay.
after Inheritance, after George R. R. Martin, she stopped reading. My girlfriend has only read ACOTAR. So I got
Okay.
both of them to try Neil Gaiman. Like that was the author I plugged obsessively. I was like, you
Uh-huh.
gotta read it, you gotta read it. I got them hooked on Neil Gaiman, and
Oh
then
no.
all this news came out, and I was like, no. I was like, and then I keep trying to recommend them new stuff. I'm like, to be fair, no one knew that when I plugged him. I
Yeah.
had no idea. Like it's crazy that the one in like I plug several things to my sister and my girlfriend. Like those are the two people that hear it the most. Like you gotta check
Yeah.
out this, and that just happened to be the author that they both really enjoyed.
Mm.
And like my girlfriend especially, he became her favorite author. And
Oh
then
wow.
she like I heard the details and I was like, ugh. And then she
Yeah.
started giving me more details about it because it being her favorite author, like to the
Sure.
point where she was reading books I hadn't even read yet. Like she really took that plug and ran with it. So now I'm
Yeah.
like, hey guys, like please listen to the rest of my recommendations because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like it
That's
was
so
just a
funny.
terrible one for them to both like first trust me on.
Yeah. Yeah. Preacher's here. What's up, dude?
What
We were
up? What
mentioning you
up?
earlier. I want to make sure I get it. Yes, the AP and Philip Malazan videos are fantastic. I would finish a Malazan book and immediately go watch their discussions. That was so great.
Yeah, they killed it on that. Also, AP Canavan does some really good ones, analyzing Wars of Light and Shadow as well. Like, I
Yeah.
wish there are times where I script videos to be like analytical, and there's like no competing with those guys in that area. Like, the
Yeah,
way they're
it's
able
tough.
to analyze stuff is like,
It's tough. It's almost like they did a PhD in analyzing fantasy books, you know?
I know, but I mean, they're
Yeah.
awesome at it. I watched all of theirs, and I was watching Mike's coverage of Malazan
Yeah.
as he was reading those as well. But I think he kind of fell off
He
around
fell off on
Reaper's
Toll the
Gale.
Hounds. Yeah,
Toll the
he
Hounds?
that's the one. Yeah, he finished Reaper's Gale and was like, "Oh, the ending didn't really work for me," which I'm like, I kind of get that. And then he started Toll the Hounds and then just fell off and I'm like, "How? How? What do you mean?"
Toll the Hounds is brilliant, dude.
It's brilliant.
Toll the Hounds is Toll the
It's
Hounds is probably like my favorite book I've ever read. Like it's up there
it's
for
up there
sure.
for sure. Yeah, it's up there for sure. Uh Preacher said you look like you listen to good music,
I
which is
actually
a
think
compliment.
my I very much appreciate that compliment, but I feel like me and Preacher, after finding his account after y'all's NLR together, are actually at odds because he looks like, well, I think Preacher reads also like his name influenced this as well, him being a preacher. So I was expecting like golden retriever energy, and then I
Yeah.
listened to like his Instagram and it's like, oh, like
Yeah.
some real metal stuff. Whereas
Uh-huh.
I look like I'd be into metal stuff, and it's like straight Mac Miller, Lauryn Hill, like just chill
It still
vibes.
fits though. It still
Yeah,
fits.
I think it goes along with my look, but
Yeah.
I definitely have a lot of people that like assume I'm a very alternative individual, and I'm
Mhm.
like, nope, I'm I'm a goody two shoes that has hella book tattoos. Like from afar, I
Exactly.
may give off a certain look, but
Yeah. Yeah, which that's kinda that, I don't know about you, but I've always kinda found that fun, that people will assume certain things. Like, that's been, like, in school, right? That people see me I mean, like, I always wear black, like, I just tattoos, whatever, long hair, piercings, and, when we'd have to do, like, group assignments in school, and everyone's, like, bummed when they're paired up with me, right? Because
they
'Cause I'm
think you're
quiet,
dumber than you
they
are,
think you're
don't they?
dumb, and then I'm
They do
like,
that to me too.
yeah. And then we start, and I'm just like, I'm the smartest person in this room, and like, which is just which I hate saying that because it sounds arrogant, and whatever. But just like that seeing their reaction was always so. Obviously, I wouldn't say those words, but just like when we actually start and they realize that I'm somewhat intelligent, it's such a fun reaction.
I love it. Well, nursing's a very competitive field, and in my microbio class, I kind of had the same thing where everybody was like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
Like I'm older than a lot of them. I'm tatted
Yep.
up,
Yep.
and they're like, "Oh, what you get The class average is like a 67, and I just love being like, I have a 92.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
it's
it
so
may
fun.
be egotistical, but I would only act that way because they assumed I was dumb.
Yeah.
Like they asked me my score hoping to get a confidence boost, and I had to shoot them down at I got a 92.
There you go. You should do it. Absolutely. Just like Preacher should lean into the golden retriever energy. That'd be fun. Preacher, I know you're a Sleep Token fan. Did you listen to the new song today? It is fantastic, if I say so myself.
What kind of music do you listen to? I'm curious. Like
I'm
who are
kind
some
of
of
all
your
over the
favorite?
place. I'm kind of all over the place. So like, I like a lot of different kinds of metal, like anything from like, like me and Preacher had like some similar stuff in like the like hardcore metalcore scene. But
I
I'll
definitely think
go.
y'all's taste in music will align more than
Yeah,
me
it's
and
pretty
Corey.
similar. It's pretty similar. But then I'll go like I'll do some like death metal, or I usually like s- even some like black metal is kind of cool, but it has to be very specific. Um, Here and there. But then I also lately I've been doing a ton of like post-hardcore or like heavy pop. Um
Okay.
or even like it's kind of got a like pop punk kind of flavor to it.
Mm.
I like old goth music like the Smiths and the Cure and stuff
Oh,
like
I love
that.
the Smiths and the
Yeah,
Cure.
let's go. And then I'll do some rap. I love Megan the Stallion. I don't care what anybody says. I love Megan the Stallion. One of my favorites. And then some I haven't gotten super deep into the rap thing. It's like I have such specific um not taste. It's like I can see that something is amazing, but it just doesn't hit me. I don't know if this makes sense. I'm like, you are incredibly talented, but I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to it. That make like Kendrick does
Okay,
that for
like
me.
you're impressed by the artistry of it, but it's not to your
Yeah.
liking.
Yeah.
Like not
Like
to your liking, but just not to your, what you go to find enjoyment out of music.
yeah, like I've gotten into like some of NF stuff or some
I do like
like
NF.
yeah, NF's kind of cool. Or I've done why am I blanking on the name? Um, there's a couple like Joyner Lucas songs that I got really into randomly.
I
Um,
do also like Joyner. He's not
yeah,
like a top, but I do,
sure.
I do enjoy him. One
Yeah.
thing I think is kind of funny is like being a tatted up white guy in Louisiana, like that. And I tell people I love hip hop. I've had so many people just be like, and I'm not a fan, but I've had so many people be like, I got to be honest with you, bro. Eminem's not that good. And I'm like, I don't even like Eminem. What are you talking about?
They just
Like
assume because
that's
you're
not
white that
even
you
one of
like
my
Eminem.
favorites. Like they just assume that I would like Eminem. And I'm like,
Uh
no,
huh.
not that I dislike Eminem, he's just not one of my favorite artists.
That's fair.
Um,
Yeah. Top few albums. That's tough.
so do you want to like go back and forth, or do you want you tell me what your favorite album is?
I don't know if I
That'd
can pick
probably
just
be something
one.
I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know if I can pick just right now. If I had to pick my favorite currently, it would probably be "Dark Sun" by Dayseeker, because it's
Mm.
super depressing, and like when you need that sad boy, I want to cry on my drive to work kind of energy, like that's perfect. So that's up there for sure.
My favorite album currently of all time is probably Swimming by Mac Miller, just because much like the books I mentioned, it just hit me at a perfect time in my
Mm,
life. But currently it'd probably be Ants from Up Here by Black Country New Road, which is a post-punk British band that's like
interesting.
they have like a designated tenor sax player, a flute player, like they've got some orchestral stuff going on. Like it's just weird. And one of their songs, everybody should check it out if you're a fantasy fan. They have a song called Chaos Space Marine, which is
That's
inspired by like
cool.
the Warhammer
As I say,
verse.
is that a Warhammer thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that at first. I was like, "What a weird collection of words." And then I saw all the Warhammer stuff, and I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, that's great.
yeah."
Wow, I just had a crazy like memory blast. I can't remember what the band's name. There's some band that all the song titles are Malazan references. I can't remember what it is. I should have wrote it down. I remember not liking it, but I just
Oh,
remember that the names were cool, and it was just such a random uh Beethoven symphony. Hey, there you go. Classic, man.
Full
I
Moon
like it.
Fever. I have a playlist called Classical Bangers.
Okay.
Bill Murray, the greatest band of all time. But I like to listen to classical while I'm like studying, that or lo-fi.
Lo-fi is
Just
good.
because I
Yeah,
can't do words while I'm reading or studying.
me either. Yeah, I like old like 80s synthy stuff. I love synth whatever.
Mhm.
Like you give me like intro to Stranger Things kind of music and I'm so happy. Like it's just the best. That's the if I need something to just kind of block out some other noise while I'm trying to work on something,
Right.
headphones give me that synth music. It's beautiful.
I tried to listen to have you read Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames?
I have not. Somebody was shouting it out in the chat earlier, but I heard it's great. But I
It's
know
like
you like it a lot.
70s rock inspired, so I had it in my
Yeah,
head that I would read that whole book while listening to Led Zeppelin, and
yeah,
I just kept like getting into like Stairway to Heaven and like instead like it's just hard with words for me when I read, but it
yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah,
helps set the mood a little bit.
yeah.
But
That makes sense. Yeah, I hear if you who was somebody's review was saying how like was it Brian Bell maybe that if you're a fan of all those bands, like it's just the funnest reading experience ever going through that
oh,
book.
they definitely like shout like there's certain warrior bands that are one to one Led Zeppelin. There there's like a statue. There at one point there's like the only point that got a little too on the nose for me is there was this one great warrior that they mentioned that they erected a statue of that like died on the toilet.
Okay,
So like it
that's a
was
little
like
on the nose.
Elvis Presley. I was like,
Uh huh.
okay, you're a little too, but I really enjoyed that book. And if you're
Yeah.
like a 70s, 80s rock fan, I think it's definitely worth the read. And while Nicholas Eames has not written the third book, they're kind of all like standalone esque. So I
Okay.
don't really feel like any, oh, I need book three right now. It's not like one series I mention all the time in my videos that used to be a huge fave of mine is King Killer, and I'm just
Yeah.
burnt out from the
Oh
lack
no.
of book three.
Uh, how long has it
Winds
been
of
since book
Winter
three
doesn't
came out?
even bother me, but Doors of Stone does.
I haven't followed that whole adventure very closely, but hasn't he like promised certain things multiple times and fell through?
He said he would release the first chapter if they raised like $1 million for charity, and then they did, and then he
Mm-hmm.
didn't do it.
That's tough.
I don't know. Like Martin, I feel like when people approach him, I almost feel bad for Martin because he'll just be out trying to enjoy his day, and people will be like, "Where's book six?" And
Yeah.
like you can tell like it's affected him. And I think people need to be a little like kinder to Martin. Like
Mm.
I know he promised, a 7 book series, but when a book series gets that big and then you have the ending, like I definitely see like I have a little bit of empathy for him. I've read Malazan. I can empathize. So I'm
Yeah.
like, let me not. But then with
Yeah.
Rothfuss, he's like, if you're asking for book three, you obviously didn't read book one and two enough. There's stuff you missed. I'm like, whoa, don't love that energy. Like,
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of odd.
I like,
Yeah.
but Martin, I feel like gets the biggest hit on that because he's the most popular.
Mm.
And I don't know. I think we should cut him some more slack.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also like, homie's out here making so much more money with these TV shows. Like, let him have fun, you know?
I completely
Also,
agree
just,
with Preacher. Name of the Wind
yeah.
is one of my faves. I actually have a tattoo from Name of the Wind, but I got this like in 2017, 2018 when I still
Okay.
thought book three might exist.
that
And
was
now,
that was a long time ago.
yeah,
That was a long time ago. Collection of music. No. Ooh, yeah. If anyone has recommendations of stuff like this, I'm open to. I found the Elden Ring soundtrack was actually really cool. The last time I tried to work on writing some stuff, I had that in the background, and it was pretty fun. But I'm here for that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I haven't talked about it on my channel, but post me doing my booktube, I started like my own writing just to see if it was something I was into. And I actually saw a Ryan Cahill video where he was like, I write 2,000 words a day or something like that.
Hmm.
It was more than that. So I was like,
I
dang,
bet
if
he
he can
writes
write
so
4,000
fast.
words a day, I can write 2,000 words a day. And I've stuck with it, but man, is that hard. Because some days you hit 2,000 in an hour and you're like, okay, it may not be good words, but it's down and
It's
I'm
something.
good. And then some days I'm at my desk for like 4 hours and I didn't like start my day and do the things I wanted to do. And I'm like, time to go to work. Didn't even hit
Yeah.
2,000.
And one very relatable too. For some reason, I didn't realize that you were. What are you working on? I want to talk about this.
So the book I started turned into something completely different. I'm at about 140,000 words,
Okay,
but
you're deep. Yeah.
so it started out as like, have you seen Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight?
I actually don't think so. I haven't seen a lot of movies, to be honest, but
So it's about like there's like a soldier from the Confederacy, uh former slave that fought in the Union, like all these different like men that are held up in this cabin, and there's a huge winter storm going on, and they're all stuck
okay.
in this cabin together, and one of them is trying to kill each other. That's the plot of
Hmm.
Hateful Eight. So what started out was like a fantasy rendition of that, but there's a zombie in the tavern with them, and one of the characters is a
Okay.
necromancer, and they have to find out who the killer is. But then, like, as that would have been like a cool premise, but now the story has altered so much from that initial thought, because I was like, okay, I want to have like different flashbacks going into the backstories of the characters that make up this tavern. And as I
Hmm.
did that, I was like, wait, this flashback story is the story. And then
Oh,
like, it just kind of morphed into something different, to the point where I feel like when I go back to the first few chapters, I'm going to have to drastically rewrite everything because the vision
yeah,
for it changed so much.
that makes sense. Do you have an outline, or are you just kind of going for it and seeing what comes out?
I have outlines of vital scenes,
Okay.
but it's like as you approach the main scenes you're thinking of, I feel like I'm like, oh wait, gotta wrap this up, because I will like leave breadcrumbs for things and completely forget about them, Erickson style, and then I'm just like, wait, I gotta work
Yeah.
that back in, and I'm like, I don't know, it's been fun. I definitely don't think it's good yet, but I'm gonna hella revise it,
Yeah,
because
that's awesome.
sometimes I'll literally like put in parentheses, I'll be like, make sure to describe this lore aspect later, because I'm not like,
Yeah,
it's not coming to me in the moment, but I have
sure.
other
Smart.
aspects of the scene that I can write.
Yeah, that's really smart actually, because that's something that's gotten me caught up a few times, and then in hindsight, I'm like, dude, literally just move on and come back to it later. Like, what are you doing? But
Mhm.
sometimes you don't think of that in the moment when you're frustrated, and
Yeah. What
you know,
about you? I mean, I don't know if you want to like save it to make a video on later, or if
yeah. I mean,
you have anything you want to share about what you're working on.
yeah, it's basically it's like I started to try to write like an actual novel. This was like 3 years ago, probably,
Mhm.
and I just like was struggling so hard to find the time, and over the course of a few years, I just like I would try. I think I wrote like 10,000 words over the course of like 3 years, and I was like, okay, this is not. But then recently, I was like, what if I try like a short story? Because then it's just not as intimidating. It's just we can do this little thing, finish it, and I'll feel accomplished, and then maybe we work our way up. So I tried that. I think I'm like 2,500 words into it right now, and it's a really basic. I mean, obviously, it has to be pretty basic for a short story, but it's sort of like this. There's this group of people that are like it's like a blend of historians. Um, why am I blanking on the word right now? Archaeologists, whatever,
Okay.
right? Like their job is to go try to find knowledge and things like investigate things,
Now, is this
and they
our
go out
world or fantasy? Is this
fantasy, yeah, straight
okay?
fantasy.
Okay. Okay.
So there's like this group, and they kind of have like this. They use magic in their work to try to discover things, right? And they go out to these ruins because there's like these like crazy religious zealots that have like really been on one lately. So they're sent out to these ruins that these zealots keep talking about. Like, go figure out what are these people talking about? Go figure this out. And the main character sort of is out there doing his thing, and accidentally sets something loose, shall we say, and then things kind of
Okay.
go from there. So that's sort of the premise I'm working off of, and we'll see what happens. I have an outline, but I'm trying to leave it kind of looser than
Okay.
I used to, just to kind of I don't know. I'm experimenting. I got to figure out what works. But I'm
Oh man,
excited. I'm
I've
having a
never
blast.
obviously never written anything you've read anything you've written, but just from the way you talk about books and the passion you bring to it, I feel like whatever you put out, I'm definitely going to be reading like day one. So,
Thanks. I mean, likewise. Like, I've told you this. Your channel is fantastic, and that's part of why I wanted to just talk to you. Like, you seem like a cool dude, and like we're gonna be friends. So like, I want to just hang out. but like I'm hoping people see this and go check out your stuff because it's like I feel like I'm so basic and I'm like this book was good, it was cool because of this, and then move on. Whereas you have like actual insights to share, which is
No,
cool.
dude, I thoroughly enjoy your channel, and it kind of shocked me whenever I was like, I remember it was either after you DM me to be on here or it was a comment. I forget where this conversation took place, but I was like, oh my God, one of the BookTube greats noticed that I existed. And you were like, I feel like I'm very small time. And I
I'm
looked
so
at your
yeah.
subscribers and I think you were sub 2000 at the time. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, dang, from a numbers perspective, he's not as big as I thought. Like Nerd Level Rising was not as big as I thought, but like for like impact for the booktube culture and like the amount of people you work with, I definitely think you are on like that big level booktube status. At least me, like surface level booktube watcher before I got my own channel, I was very
Yeah.
aware of who you were and just the amount of people you worked with and how many people had great things to say about you. I thought Nerd Level Rising was like huge. And then I looked at the numbers, I was like, okay, it's big. It's not as
Like
huge as I thought, but
that's great. Thank you so much, dude. That's amazing to hear. That
I also think I thank you for like paving the way for being a tatted up booktube person because I
let's
feel
go.
like I felt like you paved the way for me to not have to work out of that box. It's kind of also why I
Cool.
made a tattoo video so early on. It's because I just felt like people were about to ask me so much about my tattoos. And
Yeah.
it's like whenever it's another nerd, like, oh, what's that tattoo? I'm like, hey, but
Uh-huh.
just in my everyday life, when sometimes I'll be like mid conversation, somebody will be like, cool tattoos, dude. Which one hurt the most? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, who are you? Why are you all up in my business? Like,
Uh-huh.
and being a very introvert, I'm sure you've like experienced this as well. Being very introverted and very covered is like kind of detrimental sometimes, where like people want to talk your ear off about your tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's a
Yep.
fantasy nerd, it's like, oh, this is. But whenever it's someone who doesn't know any of that and is just wants to ask me a million questions about my tattoo, I'm like, don't worry
Mhm.
about it. Don't
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
100%. Yeah, it's funny. It's like I don't want to it's like I don't want to talk about it all the time, but I also do. Like that's part of why I did it is to stand out and get attention. If I'm like
Right.
subconsciously, like that's part of it. But then I'm also like, don't talk to me. Like it doesn't really make sense. But it is what it is. Preacher's asking if you're a horror fan.
I I do like Stephen King, and I don't know. I've been getting into horror. I need to check out his video on top 10 horror. I actually only found I was missing out on Preacher. I didn't find him until y'all's NLR together, and I
Cool.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whoa! I was like, whoa! This dude started like a month after me, and he's got like
Crazy.
over a
Yeah.
K. It was
Crazy.
insane. I was like,
Mhm.
damn, this dude's killing it.
Yep.
Um, and I definitely like he was one of the ones where I was like, is it my thumbnails? Because my thumbnails were very boring until recently. I
Mm.
started, putting a little razzle dazzle on them.
There you
But I
go.
saw
Yeah.
his thumbnails and I've seen other people's thumbnails and I'm like, you know what? This guy's growing fast. I need to do thumbnails. And of course, the first video with thumbnails, I was like, oh, it's about to be big. It was just
Oh yeah.
normal. I
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
how it goes.
I
That's how it
thought I
goes,
found
man.
like the secret. I was like, oh, I'm about to blow up. I'm gonna be on
Uh-huh.
Oprah. Like I thought it was about to be huge. But
I
I
wonder,
need to check out his top 10 horror books. I am very much
yeah.
enjoying his channel so far.
Yeah, thumbnails do help until they don't. Yeah, facts. I think some of the big collab videos that he's done have been helpful too, because then you get like fans of all these people's channels watching your thing, so that's pretty cool. It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty dope, pretty dope. Cool dude, cool dude. I do
Yeah.
feel sad because I feel like he was hoping I was similar music taste. And I'm like, I know I have that look. I know.
That's
And
all
I
right.
wish I was cool enough to listen to the music you guys do, but I'm
It's
just a
not that
very
cool.
much like chill vibe music listener. Like
Hey, if you like the Smiths, you're cool enough for me, bro. That's it.
Smiths are dope.
Let's go. That's
Have
awesome.
you seen I know you said you don't watch a lot of TV. Have you seen 500 Days of Summer?
No.
There's a funny line about the Smiths in there, but
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. Well, how did you find the Smiths? Because these are always interesting stories for younger people, I feel like.
so I became obsessed with the little movie by the name of by the name of Perks of Being a Wallflower,
Okay.
and that got me into like 90s alt music.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how I found the Smiths and got into that little niche. And that's really where I was in middle school. I was very much like a 90s alt. I went through a huge Weezer phase. Don't
Okay.
nobody get mad at me. I was really into Weezer for a second. And then like when I got into the Air Force and stuff is whenever it became more of like a hip hop thing. And I think part of that was in like I said, I'm from like the Bible Belt, Louisiana. It's like very Christian, like very conservative, like to the point where if you're just a little bit different, people are like, whoa, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and then of course, every single time any Kendrick Lamar came on, people were like, what's this noise? And
Uh-huh.
then, at 19, I'm like, what is this noise? Like, let me
Yeah.
look into it. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh my God, Kendrick Lamar's a G. And then I got like super obsessed with rap. And then now I've kind of like taken a step back. I feel like that was not that I don't still love hip hop as a genre. I think I was overcorrecting because of how,
Mm,
conservative my hometown was, to where
sure.
now I'm like, okay, there's a few rappers I still keep up with, but now I also listen to like post punk. I listen
Mm-hmm.
to, oh man, Chappell Roan makes me feel like I'm a
Sounds
lesbian. I,
familiar.
I love
Yeah.
her music. Pink Pony Club, I will blast. Um, that's
I
my
love it.
mega white girl energy for the day. I love Chappell Roan.
Hey, if I can have Megan the Stallion, you can have her. That's cool.
Megan the Stallion's fine, but she's no
You're right, she
Chapel.
is. No.
How did you get
Uh,
into Megan the Stallion of all rappers? That's so. Is it just
how
how
did I?
bizarre she is, or?
Maybe she's a big anime fan, which is part of it.
Oh yeah, when she was
Yeah.
busting out JJK factoids in that one interview, I was like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
you're cool like that? Like,
Yeah. She has a song, Otaku Hot Girl. It's like, okay, this is great.
I will
How did I
definitely be
have
listening to that post stream.
there you go. Preacher was saying we should get you into Sleep Token. I bet you'd find some Sleep Token that you like.
Sleep
Um,
Token.
yeah, they're pretty chill, but they
I'm on
blend a
the
lot of genres together. But how did I find Megan? I feel like my girlfriend likes her because she was like learning to twerk and she was like playing a lot of Megan songs, which is amazing. I love that story. And I think it just kind of started to grow on me. And then I was like, this is actually like good. Also, it's not just like originally it was just fun, but then I was like, this
Mhm.
is actually like, oh, I actually just like this. And then she had not her most recent album, but the one before it was like the messages in there. I was like, okay, there's like stuff about how she struggled with anxiety and like stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for this. There's actually like depth here.
Oh, this is like such a hard topic shift from Megan while still being in the hip hop sphere.
Okay.
I absolutely, as a comic book fan, MF Doom is an
Mm,
absolute joy to listen to, because that's not somebody like, you have a lot of rappers nowadays that have like, I'm not talking about Meg, but I'm talking about some that have like surface level anime references. Like they have
yeah, yeah,
analogies and references to different things in the nerd spheres, but it's like surface level stuff. Like you're mentioning Jamie Lannister, you're mentioning, like not surface level, but the average audience will know who these
yeah, yeah,
characters are.
yeah.
They know who Peter Parker is. MF Doom will be referencing like obscure Fantastic Four villains from like issue 68 that never appeared again. Like
Whoa,
MF Doom goes deep into like,
he's a real
do you
one.
know who he is? Have you heard of MF
I've
Doom?
heard the name.
He
He
has like
died, didn't he?
a Doctor Doom mask that he
Yeah,
wears when
yeah.
he performs.
That's cool. Um, First of all, thank you, Matt, for stopping by the stream. This is cool. Second of all, yes, you're right.
What's up,
That
Matt?
that was me. Uh, no, I am lucky enough to have literally a stripper pole in my living room where my girlfriend dances and just has a great time. So that's fun.
His
So
girlfriend. His girlfriend
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is him. He's the one.
It is.
He made her buy it and then had to convince her to tell other people that it was hers.
Exactly, exactly. I'll tell you what, it's fun whenever there's like a maintenance person that comes by, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a interesting conversation. Um, Well, she actually poked her head in here a minute ago, and I think she's trying to get me to come eat dinner. So I should probably go out there.
All
We
right,
didn't
man.
quite break the record from for longest stream, but we got pretty close, to be honest.
Hey, I'm happy with what
Of
I got. It's been a joy talking to you, man. I appreciate so much the invite, and
course, of
it's
course,
been a
dude. We'll have
vibe.
to, yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime for sure. This is super fun. Um, thank you for doing it. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the chat, hanging out with us. This was great.
It was a
Um,
joy to be here, man. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for everybody who
delete the
came
video I
by
sent.
too.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Um, yeah, pole is a great workout, to be honest. Like, it's so much harder than people think. It's not that I've tried it. No, but like watching people, it is so much harder than people think. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment. Go check out Shaye's channel. Go subscribe right now, please. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks so much for hanging out, and have